As I predicted, and I did predict this, I've got to start doing that whole flag the tape thing. But just as I predicted, the Democrats are teeing this up to be another attack on the Supreme Court. I've got Dana Bash's question that does tee it up for Jamie Raskin coming up next. It's 5:15. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. All right, very good. Thank you. 5:15, partly cloudy today and a high of 42. Right now, 32 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I want you to hear how Dana Bash, I'm gonna air quote the her position as journalist, her title as journalist, but this is how she positioned the question to Jamie Raskin about the Supreme Court and should any conservative Supreme Court justices actually recuse themselves from the Donald Trump case. Listen to this.
3 of the sitting justices were appointed by Donald Trump. And in addition to that, Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, texted with Mark Meadows about the 2020 election and the lead up to January 6th, as you will know. Should any of the justices recuse themselves?
All right, so you can tell where this is going. The Democrats, and I've been saying this is going to happen for a long time. So the Democrats are going to say that if Donald Trump, and I believe that he will probably be on the ballot unless something dramatic happens. So if Trump ends up on the ballot and wins the election, then you're going to have the Democrats and the media, they're going to say, oh, he's an illegitimate president. Why? Because his own Supreme Court saved him. That's what they're teeing up for the next conversation. By the way, she's talking about these text messages reviewed by CNN show that Ginny Thomas pleading with Mark Meadows, of course, then he was Trump's chief of staff, to continue to fight to overturn the election results. That's it. Now, I don't know about you, but at the time, there was a lot going on. And so the exact thing that she texted to Mark Meadows, help this great president stand firm, Mark. You are the leader with him who is standing for America's constitutional governance at the precipice. The majority knows Joe Biden and the left is attempting the greatest heist of our history. Ginny Thomas wrote on November 10th of 2020. That was to Mark Meadows. So there's a few texts like this, and I don't need to go through all of this, but listen, at the time, there was a lot of things that were going on, and it is perfectly understandable. I was right there. And so it was perfectly understandable for Ginny Thomas and many others to question what was going on during the election of 2020. Again, let's not forget that Joe Biden had 400 election lawyers ready to go. Now, this is also important as you've got the Democrats now saying that Clarence Thomas must recuse himself on any decision related to Donald Trump and January 6th, as the Colorado and Maine tries to bounce him off of the ballots in their respective states. The committee is in possession of only one text from the month of January 2021. In other words, all of these texts that Jamie Raskin is talking about, only one is from the month of January when all of this took place. And by the way, Ginny Thomas has long been known as a conservative activist. So this is nothing new. And all she did was she vented her frustration at Vice President Mike Pence for not taking the steps necessary to block the certification of the election results. So again, what the Democrats are trying to do, it is so predictable, is their own sort of legal, I would say, a legal insurrection in the sense that they're trying to remove Donald Trump from the ballot in all of these different states. And so then the attack on Ginny Thomas does continue. This is what Jamie Raskin says about Ginny Thomas, and listen to how he positions this whole thing.
Anybody looking at this in any kind of dispassionate, reasonable way would say if your wife was involved in the big lie and claiming that Donald Trump had actually won the presidential election, had been agitating for that and participating in the events leading up to January 6th, that you shouldn't be participating.
So he should recuse himself.
He should. Oh, he absolutely should recuse himself. The question is, what do we do if he doesn't recuse himself?
Now, did you hear that last part? What will we do if Clarence Thomas does not recuse himself? Does that sound like a threat to you folks? See, it does kind of sound like a threat to me. And that one little comment from Jamie Raskin made a lot of headlines. Other thing is, he's actually saying that Ginny Thomas, if you listen closely to that, he is actually saying that Ginny Thomas took part in an insurrection. Now, I would have to ask the question, how exactly did Ginny Thomas take part in the events leading up to January 6th of 2021? By sending a text message to Mark Meadows? Does she lose her right to free speech if she sends a text message? That is insane. But you see, that is the state of mind of these Democrats. He also, by the way, was asked this question, and that is, do you think that Donald Trump, if he's bounced off of the ballots, is he going to be a martyr?
You know, if he's allowed to stay on the ballot despite his clear incitement of an insurrection, an attempt to overturn the results in the 2020 election, and he loses to Joe Biden, as he almost certainly would. Biden beat him by more than 7 million votes last time, and we just have millions of young new voters who've joined the rolls, and they can't stand Donald Trump and the Republican Party. If he loses, he will feel himself a martyr there, and he will try to overturn the election result again. So I don't think we can run scared from Donald Trump.
Scared. Do you realize it's scared? We shouldn't run scared of Donald. I was actually playing that for Amy last night, and I said, does he say the word scared wrong? Because he says scared.
Overturn the election result again. So I don't think we can run scared from Donald Trump.
Scared of Donald Trump. You know, there are so many untruths and flat out lies in that one statement from Jamie Raskin. First of all, if you want to go over the polling, because you heard one of the things that he said, which was that younger voters are really angry at Donald Trump, and they're going to beat, the younger voters will help the Democrats beat Joe Biden. Well, I don't know about you, but I would tell Jamie Raskin that the new polls are showing that Donald Trump would absolutely trounce Joe Biden if the race was held today. I've got that polling coming up from Newsweek, and it's all straight ahead at 5:23 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. When I tell you about my friends at DT McCall's, let me tell you something. Their gun safes are still here in the new year, sales tax free. It is hunting season, so you're going to go hunting. But when you're home, those guns do need to be locked up in that tax-free gun safe. From my friends at DT McCall's, they are Tennessee's largest Liberty gun safe dealer. They also, by the way, offer free delivery and free setup as well. Other places going to charge you up to $500 for delivery and setup depending on the size, but not at DT McCall's. They deliver and set up for free. And by the way, as you probably know by now, you can use that gun safe to keep anything safe. Valuables, cash, jewelry, documents, wills, deeds, and car titles, whatever. Your most important valuables are safe from theft or fire with a gun safe from DT McCall's. Find all the details at their website. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out, dtmccalls.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors, because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or you can call 615-851-1950.
January is training month at McGill's Glock Store and the incredible Shoot 270 indoor ranges. Dan Mandis here. Listen, it is not enough to own a gun. You have to also know how to use it safely, securely, and effectively. Now, the Glock Store's exclusive and unique Shoot 270 indoor ranges, they don't have lanes like a lot of you might be used to. They don't believe they're a viable training method. Every session is a training session with your own private room and their massive and professional firearms instruction. Now, all this month here in January, you mentioned WTN, you're going to get some great discounts. Now, first of all All range sessions are going to be half off when you mention WTN. Second, free gun rentals with your paid range session. And third, we are going to double whatever you paid for your session and apply it to a Shoot 270 range membership. That is the world-famous McGill's Glock store and Shoot 270 indoor ranges, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Good morning. It is 5:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got cloudy conditions, 34 degrees. We'll have a complete forecast and another traffic report for you here in a few minutes. Most Americans go back to work today, but Congress, they've got another week off. Then they face another partial shutdown 2 weeks after that. ABC's Andy Field, he's got a preview of another contentious political month ahead.
The Senate doesn't return to Washington till January 8th, with no indication they'll be able to pass 9 remaining spending bills and avoid another agree or shut down deadline before the end of the month. There's also still no agreement on talks to continue Ukraine and Israeli military aid in return for tougher U.S. southern border laws and funding, and passing another temporary spending bill needing Democratic support could also threaten new Speaker Johnson's job.
Election year is here, and a new poll shows, as Dan was alluding to just a few minutes ago, that new poll shows that President Biden losing ground to former President Trump among Latinos and younger voters. Here is more from ABC's Rhiannon Ally.
The USA Today Suffolk University survey shows Trump with a 39% support among the Latino demographic, compared to Biden's 34%. Back in 2020, Biden got 65% support from Latino voters. Concerns about the economy and the border have weighed on voters. The poll also finds Trump now leading Biden among voters under age 35.
Here in Tennessee, with the new year, a number of new laws have gone into effect, with many of them related to crime and public safety. One bill, also known as the Eddie Conrad Act, increases the number of points that can be charged to someone's driving record if they are caught texting and driving. It especially affects people under the age of 18, who will receive 7 points for a second or subsequent offense. That's enough to potentially have their license suspended for up to 12 months. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
536, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into the gang of three amigos. I'm Dan. Jay's over there in for Ken. Morning, Jay.
Howdy there, Dan.
Thank you very much for showing up today.
Yes, well,
we pay you.
I can't let you down, man.
And we pay you. We do pay you, right?
Yeah, I think.
Sure.
He gets paid weekly. Very weekly.
Yes, WEAK.
Thanks, Johnny, for the assist there. Johnny B's here as well, and I think I can speak for at least me. I don't know how you feel, Johnny, but I will speak for me. I'm feeling a little rusty.
Oh, yeah.
I am just like, holy Lord, I feel like a fish out of water in here.
Me too.
Now, I don't know. We had some problems, of course, with the camera.
Yes. My camera's not working.
It's not? Okay.
No.
So I don't know, when did the camera come on, Johnny, if I may ask? Because I'm wondering if it came on while I was battling in the middle of that first segment. I couldn't figure out the microphone. It was like way up, like by my nose. And so I'm trying to speak into the microphone, and it's like way up near my nose. And the whole thing was just, so I don't know if that was caught on the camera or
Yes,
not.
it
But
was.
I feel like I've been battling myself for the last 38 minutes.
I'm with you.
But, and listen, because here's the thing, is that I didn't do anything for the last week and a half.
Me either.
We had fill-in JD for me for the last week or so. And Ken was here, and then Ken asked if he could have the day off because today is Ken's birthday.
Happy birthday, Ken.
But I got to tell you, I don't know about you guys. I don't know what you did over the last week or so, but I had like one show on Red Eye Radio. And other than that, it was just like my family was lucky if I left the house.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me.
Yeah, it's the same with me.
Did you turn off the news that entire time, Dan, or can you just not help yourself?
No, I can't help myself. See,
Right.
People don't understand. I love what I do. You can't always tell, but I do. I love what I do. And so matter of fact, I've got a new vehicle for my news consumption. Amy bought me like an iPad. So now I've got my cell phone, my laptop, and an iPad, and the iWatch that I never wear. So everywhere I go, there's some sort of news consumption happening. And so, all the news stories that were coming down over the past, week and a half or whatever it's been since I was on WTN, I am fully up to speed. And I was so chomping in the bit to get back on the radio. And then I opened up the microphone at 5:06, and it was just like the microphone is up by my nose, and I'm like, what the hell am I saying? But it's all good.
So
it's all good.
Dan, do you have one of those smart speaker, like a Google gadget or an Alexa-enabled device? I mean, to also for the lazy way to just, hey, Alexa, what's the latest news? I mean, do you have one of those too?
I do that too. I do all of that. Jay.
Well, okay, very good.
I do all of that. So yeah, it was a great vacation. It was a great Christmas. We had fun. My daughter came down, and we played chess, and we opened gifts, and Amy's family was over, and we just had a phenomenal Christmas. And then my birthday, of course, was the day after Christmas. So I'm now 56 years old. I don't look a day over 56, right?
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
So how did you do for Christmas, Johnny? Did you get anything good?
Oh, I got all kinds of great things.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. I liked having the time off. And I love every time I'm off, my wife always wants to do a project. And this time,
like a home project?
Oh, yeah. This time it was the kitchen sink. She decided she wanted to replace some parts on it, and had to call a plumber.
You know what's funny about that, Johnny? I had that same experience with my ex-wife.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Hey, Jay, so...
yes, sir.
Did either you two watch the New Year's extravaganza with Morgan Wallen and Thomas Rhett and I forget who else was there. Was it Lorna Lance?
Yeah, you had Leonard Skinner was on the show.
Trace Adkins and
Trace Adkins was great with
Lainey Wilson.
Yep, Lainey Wilson. That's who it was.
Right,
Lainey Wilson. Right. And what did you think? See, I thought that Morgan Wallen was the absolute best. I mean, he was really good. But I don't know about where you guys are at with Morgan Wallen. They had him on like he was like out by the river, by the stadium. I didn't seem to me like he was anywhere near Broadway. He was nowhere near a club. He was like outside in front of like 50 people is where they stuck Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but no offense to Thomas Rhett or anybody else, but Morgan Wallen has the absolute top album for 2023.
Yes.
That's correct. Both pop and country.
And they've got him singing 3 songs. And I noticed, the other thing that I noticed, I believe there was some mistreatment of Morgan Wallen, is where I'm going with this.
I'm sure.
Because even at the end, where you have all of the artists like out on the stage, you know, singing goodnight and all that kind of stuff at the end of the broadcast, Morgan Wallen, I didn't see him. It was like he was nowhere to be found. Now, I don't know if he just said, shine this, I'm out. But he really needs a bigger role, because I'm sitting there and I'm watching, again, the other artists that had a lot more songs to sing, and Morgan Wallen blew him off the stage, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Big day today, Bill Clinton. His name is supposed to be, dropped in finally, the Jeffrey Epstein files. And you guys think anything is going to happen with that, Johnny? I mean, here's the thing. First of all, and this is going to make some people mad, because I know that there's some people that have been just waiting for this for, years. They've been waiting to, find out who's on that list. We all know who's on the list.
Oh, sure.
But you Democrats.
That's right, baby.
That's who's on the list.
Yeah.
Now, there's a picture that is going around, and I've heard people on talk radio talking about this, like it's some big revelation, big deal. It's really not, but Bill Clinton getting his massage. Have you seen that photo, Johnny, I think?
Yeah, the shoulder massage. Right?
Yeah, baby.
So everybody's saying, oh, this is like a smoking gun. It's not a smoking gun.
No.
The woman who was given, and I'm not defending Bill Clinton, trust me. But if there's one guy that needs defending against Hillary, it is Bill, and I feel sorry for him from that standpoint. But the girl giving the masseuse, she said that Bill Clinton was a perfect gentleman.
There you go.
So I don't know what else to tell you about everybody that thinks that these folks are going to be hauled off to jail. And here's the thing. To me, this whole thing, and I don't want to go all talk radio on folks, but to me, this whole thing is a big distraction.
Well, that's all it is. And you're right. Nothing's going to happen. Look what happened with the brothel they found in Massachusetts. Nothing.
Yeah, whole thing
One
is gone.
story, and it disappears.
That whole thing is gone. By the way, I stand corrected. Just so folks know that I know, there was amongst all of these list of names, and I've got a whole big presentation on this later on in the broadcast, but there was a guy by the name of Thomas Pritzker, Hyatt Hotels chairperson. Thomas Pritzker, he actually is, it seems to me, like the one guy that was a Republican. He had donated to a bunch of Republicans, including Dick Lugar, and also one Bob Corker for his Senate run back in 2012.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are those dirty Democrats. So anyway, so that's what's going on with Bill Clinton. And again, we'll have to see what happens. If they can prove that those guys did any kind of thing with those underage girls, they really do need to face accountability. The question is, will they? And I don't know about the statute of limitations and all that other stuff, but this is a big day for a lot of folks. Me, I'm some sordid interest in all of this, but I've got my eye on the ball with everything else that's going on, and there is a lot going on. One of the things that I find interesting, have you seen the video of, I want to make sure that everyone knows who Ian Ziering is. So, Jay, do you know who, this may be a bit to nowhere. Jay, do you know who Ian Ziering is?
I've seen the name in the stuff I've had to go over, but I don't.
This is why you need to come to, Jay, this is why you need to come to the pre-production meetings.
Yes.
The pre-show meetings.
Those exist? Okay, that's news to me. I wasn't aware there was such a thing. I'm sorry, I missed those.
Yeah,
he was on
3:30 in the morning.
I was going to say they start at 3:30, Jay. So.
Oh, okay.
Because clearly there's a lot to talk about. So he played. He was on Beverly Hills 90210. And
okay. All right. I know who you're talking about.
So there's a video out there. Wait, Johnny, do you know who Ian? Now that I've crucified poor Jay.
Oh,
Johnny, do you know who Ian
I'm
Ziering
used to
is?
it.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I've been married 35 years. I'm used to it.
There you go. There you go. So Ian Ziering was on Beverly Hills 90210. There is video that went viral over the weekend. I actually tweeted it out. And it's a video of Ian Ziering. And in all of his, I think he's probably in his 50s now. And he's in a fight with like 4 people.
Wow.
And people start, videoing the fight of Ian Ziering in a slugfest with 4 people. And the media is describing them as bikers.
Are they? Are they like
they're on
part
mopeds.
of a motorcycle?
They're on like mopeds.
I was going to say, Schwinn. Yeah, the Schwinn.
Yeah, they're like motorized bikes. And so they're not bikers. And the more you look at the video, it's like one of these people is like 5'4", and I think it's a girl. I mean, I'm not saying girls can't be tough, but I mean,
Sure.
But Ian Ziering, I got to tell you, he looks like kind of bad A taking on these folks. Now, apparently what happened is that he's driving along L.A., and one of these little moped riders banged into his car. And so we live in a society now, it would appear, where if you get in a little, probably not even a fender bender, Ian Ziering pulls over like any rational person does.
Right.
And these 4 moped riders in helmets start beating him up. And so he tries to run across a busy street. He's got one of these moped riders, grabbing him by the collar. Another one tries to, trip him, misses completely, by the way. And Ziering ends up, it looks like he gets a couple of kicks in and maybe a punch as well. And he actually looks like the bad A in all of this. And the little moped people with their helmets are just, he ran across the street and they said, never mind.
Moped gang.
That's right. California bikers.
He hit me.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's the crazy thing now. He gets out to see if there's any damage to his car. His 10-year-old daughter is in the car.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
So he runs across the street. Now, I would hope that he locked the door so that he didn't leave the 10-year-old daughter at the hands of the moped gang. But
the moped gang.
But anyway. So, yeah. And he put out a little statement on Instagram. Ian Ziering did. By the way, he's also the guy behind Sharknado. Now, I would say that if there's a reason to beat Ian Ziering up, it's because of Sharknado.
Yes, that'd be.
There you go.
But anyway, he put out a tweet on Twitter or X. Actually, I think it was Instagram. But anyway, and he says basically that L.A. has to crack down on the hooliganism.
Hooliganism.
Hooliganism. That's what he said. Hooliganism.
Watch out for those dangerous moped gangs.
The hooligans on the mopeds.
Hey, fellas, I'm going to beat him up. Watch.
I don't know, man. Have you noticed, though, Johnny, I think you and I have talked about this off the air. I don't know if I mentioned this on the air. I know I said this on X, where I'm noticing a different dynamic in fights lately. Have you noticed this? Where it's one guy getting beaten up by a whole bunch of other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's this new dynamic in schools. I'm noticing there is this school in, I want to say, was it Las Vegas? And there's another one in Florida.
Florida, right.
And you've got all these kids, and I'm just going to say it because people are making a thing out of it. A lot of when these happen, it's black kids who just gang up on one white kid.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Las Vegas, and that's what happened in Florida.
Well,
then my question is, okay, well then, obviously the cliche, but it's a legit response. What if it was a bunch of white people beating up a black kid?
Yeah.
Yep. Hate
You know
crime.
what I mean?
Hate crime.
Yeah.
So why are they not being? One of these kids in Florida, is it Marjorie Stoneman? I think, picks up this kid and slams him to the ground on the head.
Wow.
Yep. Fractured his skull.
Fractured his skull. That's right, Jay. So why is that not a hate crime? Now in L.A., the little moped riders, I don't know. I think they were white. I to be candid, I don't know. And listen, I'm equally as horrified no matter the color. My point, though, is that if you've got, 15 black kids that are beating up a white kid, I would say that's a hate crime.
Right.
Absolutely.
Is it not?
Absolutely.
Maybe I'm
would
wrong
say-
on that. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
No, I would agree with that.
If you have any hate you'd like to, spew my way, send it to Johnny. Because he probably cares more than I do at this moment. Let's see here. Anything else going on, gentlemen? Anybody else got any topics you want to bring to the table before I come to a close on this?
Dan, did you watch any of the bowl games yesterday?
I asked Johnny how he liked the Alabama-Michigan game. And you know what Johnny said? He said, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Except that he wishes that Alabama had won. I guess that was a really good game.
Yeah, it was. Going to overtime.
Yeah.
The last play on Alabama's part, to me, was kind of a questionable call.
Yeah.
That was not successful play, of course.
No, it was not.
And I guess Volunteer Nation is a little excited because the new quarterback looked really good in the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, blanking Iowa.
Blanking Iowa. That's exactly right. So, yeah, very big bowl season, I guess.
Yeah.
So who's it going to be, Washington or Michigan winning this thing? Any predictions?
Oh, is there another game? Totally kidding.
I'll go with Michigan.
I'm going to go for Michigan. What do you say, Jay?
Yeah, I tend to think that Harbaugh's got his guys psyched and ready to play.
All right, very good. And with that, the super text line is open. I'm telling you folks right now, I feel like I'm relearning my job for the very first time. Like when seriously, Jay, does that happen to you where you haven't been on the air in a long time? And then it's just like, here you are, and it's like an out-of-body experience?
Sometimes, I jump from, here at Cumulus, I jump from station to station so much that there are times I forget, okay, what am I doing in this room? Okay, you were asking what was done over Christmas and New Year's. I mean, I was here. I've been here for, this is my 13th day in a row here.
Oh.
Yeah. I've been on our sister, Nash Icon.
All right, very good. I always like when Jay's here, Johnny, because he always plugs the competition.
Yep, absolutely.
He and McMurray. All right, 5:53 on WTN.
Good morning. It is 6 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and 34 degrees, a complete forecast, and traffic. They are upcoming. A reported shift in Israeli military operations in Gaza as the war with Hamas continues. Here's ABC's Jay O'Brien reporting from Washington.
Israel now plans to withdraw some troops from Gaza in a shift to more targeted operations against Hamas in the coming months. Israel's defense minister says some Israeli residents living near the Gaza border will soon be allowed to return to their homes. They were evacuated after the October 7th attack by Hamas that triggered the war. Yesterday, Israel's military releasing video of its K-9 unit, saying it found weapons inside a kindergarten in Gaza.
Damage from the powerful earthquake in Japan is widespread, and casualties are likely to rise. Here is this is Tom Rivers. He's at the foreign desk as he talks about this particular earthquake that struck off the coast of central Japan.
The series of powerful quakes in western Japan have damaged thousands of buildings, vehicles, and boats, while officials warn people in some areas to stay away from their homes because of a risk of more strong activity. Water, power, and cell phone service still down in some areas of Ishikawa. Countries dispatched some 1,000 soldiers to affected areas to aid in the rescue and relief efforts.
The market numbers report this morning brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. They can be found online at beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. The peaks and valleys of 2023 were definitely dominated by the peaks toward the end of the year. The stock market finished 2023 with a bang as the S&P climbed for 9 weeks in a row. The Dow Jones scored a 13.7% gain and notched a new record during 2023. A rally in cryptocurrencies finds Bitcoin topping $45,000, its highest level in nearly 21 months. In early Tuesday trade, Bitcoin had extended Monday's rally. The new year could see the nation's average gas price of $3.11 on the rise. Tensions in the Middle East and expected stronger demand in China boosted crude prices by 1.5% over the weekend. Drivers hoping to skip gas pumps altogether by buying electric vehicles are seeing their options slim if they also want to take advantage of federal tax credits. New Year's Day saw the list of vehicles eligible for a $7,500 tax credit drop from 43 to 19.
Here are the stock futures before the opening bell. The Dow futures down 175, S&P 500 down 31, and NASDAQ futures down 159. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. We've got them coming up. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And go, my fellow Americans.
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in. It is Tuesday. Feels like a Monday, and so far this show has been exactly like your average suck-ass Monday. But that's okay. We're starting with a new attitude here in the second hour. I want to welcome on into the program Hans von Spakovsky. Hans, always great to have you on. And there's a lot of news that has happened over the last week and a half or so since I've been gone regarding Maine. Now, first Colorado and now Maine over the last couple of days working to remove former President Donald Trump from its ballot. So let's talk about Maine and the difference between what Colorado wants to do, which is going through their Supreme Court, and what Maine wants to do, which is basically one woman, the Secretary of State, unilaterally pulling Donald Trump off the ballot.
Yeah, and I guess no surprise since she was the head of the ACLU chapter of Maine before she became Secretary of State. Yep. And by the way, I mean, she not only made a wrong decision, she's not even a lawyer, right? But she had a basic ethical issue and conflict of interest, because guess what she did in the 2020 election? She was an elector for Joe Biden. And now she's acting to take his possible opposition off of the ballot. I should tell you, Dan, just last week, right before Christmas, the Colorado State Republican Committee filed a petition with the U.S. Supreme Court asking the U.S. Supreme Court to take up the Colorado case in an appeal and to overrule the Colorado case. And obviously, if the Supreme Court does that, if they take up the case, if they overrule what Colorado did, that would void what the Maine Secretary of State has done.
So what do you think the deadline is? I know, is it January 4th, the deadline for Colorado? The Supreme Court has to let Colorado know by the 4th?
Well, that's what they put. Yes, that's what they put in their order. So I think the Supreme Court is going to act pretty darn quickly on whether they want to take this case up or not. I just don't see how they could turn it down. I mean, they could, but that would be, I think, a serious dereliction of their duty to get this issue resolved because, yeah, Colorado, Maine, the California Lieutenant Governor sent a letter to the California Secretary of State requesting that she also do this, and there are cases pending in a dozen states on this issue.
Now, Hans, you and I have spoken about this. I know that other hosts have spoken about it as well here on WTN. I have to assume that people know by now 14th Amendment Section 3 is the rationale, and just for catch-up people here on the January 2nd, basically what the Supreme Court can do, as you've got all of these states trying to boot Donald Trump off the ballot using the 14th Amendment as their rationale, Supreme Court can just come up, just to review, and say any kind of an application utilizing the 14th Amendment is not going to pass legal muster. They can just do a blanket statement, correct?
They can, but they can do it based on the fact that if you examine Section 3 of the 14th Amendment carefully, it's clear to me, and frankly a number of other constitutional lawyers, that it doesn't even apply to Donald Trump. So you don't even have to get into the issue of, well, did he commit insurrection? Did he not? By its own terms, it doesn't even apply to him. And so that would be an easy way for the Supreme Court to basically take the case, issue an opinion, and void all these efforts that are going on across the country.
And Hans von Spakovsky joining us from the Heritage Foundation, our legal analyst on WTN and Nashville's Morning News. So when you say it doesn't apply to Donald Trump, it's because the 14th Amendment Section 3 applies to appointed officers, if you will, not elected presidents, correct?
Yes, it's because the term it applies to what's called officers of the United States. And the Supreme Court has said in prior decisions when it was looking at that term as used in the Constitution, officers of the United States, that only applies to people who have been appointed, not elected. And what that means is that Merrick Garland, for example, who's the Attorney General of the U.S., he is an officer of the U.S. because he was appointed to the position confirmed by the Senate. But Joe Biden's not an officer of the U.S. because he was elected to that position.
There was another attempt in Wisconsin that was dismissed by the Elections Commission there based on what is being called the technicality. Michigan had a similar situation. As we read about all of these attempts sort of falling by the wayside, Hans, will other people in some of these other states bring their own lawsuits, but based on a different application? It kind of feels like we're playing whack-a-mole with all of these different lawsuits.
Well, they'll have a hard time bringing it on anything else because their only possible avenue is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And people need to remember, people just, especially reporters, they just ignore this. Remember, these same groups tried to do this 2 years ago. In 2022, they filed almost identical lawsuits against Republican members of Congress, saying that members of the House and U.S. senators like Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, claiming that they had engaged in insurrection and therefore shouldn't be on the ballot. None of those cases succeeded. They have finally succeeded with the Colorado Supreme Court in a badly reasoned decision. But remember, it was 4-3.
Yeah.
So 3 judges said, no, you can't apply this. It was one judge crossing over it was 3-3, and you had one judge, basically one judge crossing over to make it a 4-3 majority. One judge saying, I'm going to make a decision that affects literally tens of millions of voters across the U.S. by taking away their ability to make a decision in this year's presidential election.
Coming up on 6:15 on Nashville's Morning News, Hans, coming up, I got to check traffic real quick, but coming up, Jamie Raskin said something incredible in an interview with Dana Bash over the weekend. I want to play you that audio and get your reaction straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Jack. And today it's going to be cold and right now 43 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hans von Spakovsky from the Heritage Foundation joining us. Hans, Jamie Raskin said this with Dana Bash over the weekend. He seems incredibly convinced that Colorado is right. Here's what he said, comparing what Trump is accused of to other presidential requirements, like having to be born in this country and being the age of 35. Listen to Jamie Raskin.
He has disqualified himself, and we have a number of disqualifications in the Constitution for serving as president. For example, age. I mean, I've got a colleague who's a great young politician, Maxwell Frost. He's 26. He can't run for president. Now, would we say that that's undemocratic? Well, that's the rules of the Constitution. If you don't like the rules of the Constitution, change the Constitution.
All right, so what do you say about that, Hans?
Jeremy Raskin, he's a member of Congress. Congress acquitted President Trump of engaging in insurrection. So if you take his logic that he's supposedly applying, then how is he disqualified? The Congress interpreted the Constitution. They acquitted him in a trial. So he's clearly did not engage in insurrection. And just one congressman claiming he did doesn't change the acquittal that occurred in the U.S. Senate.
Well, and it's not like, if I can throw my 2 cents in there, you can't debate someone's age or, where they were born. I mean, putting the whole Obama thing aside for a second. But, clearly there is a debate. I don't believe it's much of a debate going on right now, but there's a debate between, what Donald Trump did, didn't do, and so forth. But to compare, that to these other two just doesn't make any sense. He also, by the way, says, Jamuaryr also says that he believes that Justice Clarence Thomas needs to recuse himself. This is what he said.
Anybody looking at this in any kind of dispassionate, reasonable way would say if your wife was involved in the big lie and claiming that Donald Trump had actually won the presidential election, had been agitating for that and participating in the events leading up to January 6th, that you shouldn't be participating.
So he should recuse himself.
He should. Oh, he absolutely should recuse himself. The question is, what do we do if he doesn't recuse himself?
So he wants Clarence Thomas to recuse himself because his wife, Ginny Thomas, was texting Mark Meadows, Donald Trump chief of staff, talking about, trying to do something about all of this. But I mean, I think that for Raskin, I think what he's trying to do is stack the deck against Donald Trump.
He is, and there's no reason for Thomas to recuse himself. In fact, you could make a much stronger case that Elena Kagan ought to recuse herself, given the fact that she was in the Obama-Biden administration. And in fact, they hired her to be the Solicitor General of the U.S., so she actually worked for Joe Biden and President Obama when he was president. So you want to make a case for recusal, you should concentrate on Kagan, who actually worked for Joe Biden, who will be the candidate who will benefit if Donald Trump is taken off the ballot.
Let me ask you this in our remaining minute 45 seconds. I'm reading stories out there, and I don't know if they're planted stories by the media, but where they're saying that Donald Trump is, and this is the quote, secretly concerned that the Supreme Court is going to side with Colorado, side with Maine. Are you reading anywhere where there's any legit judges or constitutional scholars out there that would side, aside from Jamuaryr, that would side with the Democrats on this?
Oh, well, they rounded up some academic experts in the Colorado case. But when you go into their actual reasoning, it fails. But that doesn't stop, that doesn't stop academics these days, particularly the way the leftists dominate the law schools from making claims like that.
It is stunning. Hans von Spakovsky, thank you very much for joining us here on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and a Happy New Year to you. It is 6:19 on Nashville's Morning News, and the Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986. Guys, if you are getting ready to propose, I have a proposal for you. Get that ring at Brentwood Jewelry. Now, they help take the stress out of selecting the perfect engagement ring for you. Now, a lot of guys don't actually involve their partners in the buying of the ring, and nearly a third of women say they would prefer to help pick out that ring. So simply go in together and pick something out that you both love and, yes, can afford as well. Listen, it's all about communication, friends. What kind of ring does she want? What kind of cut for the diamond? How big does she want it to be? There's more questions that I even knew, which is why you need to get the help from my friends at Brentwood Jewelry. They have a great selection of rings, and they can also customize a ring for you as well. So don't buy that engagement ring without talking to the professionals at Brentwood Jewelry first. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP and the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors, because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call, or you can call 615-851-1950.
Six 625 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I don't know. I think I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I don't know whether I should be angry at Jamie Raskin or just laugh at him for all of the just BS that he's been spewing on all the shows over the weekend. But I've been playing you some of this audio. I just played a bunch of it for Hans von Spakovsky. I do want to play you this piece of audio where he's talking about Donald Trump being a martyr.
You know, if he's allowed to stay on the ballot despite his clear incitement of an insurrection, an attempt to overturn the results in the 2020 election, and he loses to Joe Biden, as he almost certainly would. Biden beat him by more than 7 million votes last time, and we just have millions of young new voters who've joined the rolls, and they can't stand Donald Trump and the Republican Party. If he loses, he will feel himself a martyr there, and he will try to overturn the election result again. So I don't think we can run scared from Donald Trump.
So, Jay Harper in for Ken Weaver.
Yes, sir.
Jay, you've got some new polling that I wasn't aware of, but I heard you talking, broadcasting. What's the new polling say that Trump would beat Biden?
Yeah, there was a USA Today Suffolk University poll that shows Trump with a 39% support among the Latino demographic compared to Biden's 34%. Back in 2020, that election, Biden got 65% of the support from Latino voters. So according to this latest poll, that's like everybody else, concerns about the economy and the border have weighed on voters. And it finds that people under 35 are now leaning toward Trump as opposed to Biden.
Well, that's the thing that I'm saying about Jamie Raskin is he's full of, you know what? He's full of BS. He's talking out his you-know-where.
Yeah, just more of the Democratic mantra.
This is from Newsweek. Trump is polling well in a hypothetical race against Joe Biden. The latest data from Real Clear Politics shows that Donald Trump leads Joe Biden by 2 points and that his lead is even greater in key battleground states like Georgia, Michigan, and Arizona, where Biden trails him by 5 points. And in Nevada, where Biden is behind by 4 points, Biden won all 4 states in the 2020 election. In other words, Donald Trump is not doing nearly as bad as Jamie Raskin is saying. It's like the Democrats kind of live in their own sort of bubble over there, the Trump derangement syndrome bubble. Last week, they say, this is again from Newsweek, a national survey released by the New York Times at Siena College found Trump leading Biden 49 to 43% among Americans between 18 and 29. So didn't we literally just hear Jamie Raskin say that younger voters hate Donald Trump? And they think that he tried to overthrow the government. Well, no, actually, Jamie Raskin. And by the way, this is the New York Times. This is the Bible for the for the left. Whether it's the New York Times or the Washington Post. And by the way, I don't know where Nikki Haley's at in all this. I just saw some numbers out of Iowa where Donald Trump is absolutely obliterating the GOP primary or the caucus in Iowa. Trump is obliterating Ron DeSantis, and Nikki Haley is behind Ron DeSantis. So there's a lot going on, and by and large, it does not look good for Joe Biden. Got a lot more straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you want to start the new year off with super clean carpets, call my friends at Zerorez. They are the company that I trust with my carpets, and you can too. Now, they don't use any harsh soaps or chemicals, and that means no residue is left behind with Zerorez. All that is left behind is soft, fluffy carpets. And your surfaces are going to dry twice as fast as well. By the way, with cold and flu season here, it is more important than ever to keep those carpets clean because Zerorez can get rid of all of those cold and allergy-causing bacteria and germs that live in your carpet and gets you sick. So protect your family and pets with Zerorez, a smarter, lasting clean. And right now, for the month of January, a great deal where you can get 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109 when you get $50 off of air duct cleaning as well when you mention my name. So again, that great deal. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109. You also get $50 off of air duct cleaning too when you mention my name. Restrictions may apply. 615-535-9376 for Zerorez. 615-535-9376. You can book online, ZerorezNashville.com.
Good morning and Happy New Year. It is 6:30 and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 35 degrees, a complete forecast, and another traffic report are on the way. Dramatic scenes at Tokyo's Haneda Airport in Japan today. A Japan Airlines jetliner bursting into flames after landing. The flight from Hokkaido collided with a Coast Guard plane that was already on the runway. It was preparing to assist with earthquake relief. All 379 people on board the commercial airline were evacuated safely. However, there's no word yet on the 6 people that were reportedly on board the Coast Guard plane. Smart Asset releasing its 2023 study of the cities that saw their population decrease the most between 2017 and 2022. Memphis was the only Tennessee city whose population decreased during that period. Memphis saw its population drop about 5% between 2017 and 2022. Nashville and Chattanooga had a nearly 3% increase during the 5 years, while Knoxville had an almost 5% increase. 2 cities here in the mid-state, Clarksville and Murfreesboro, experienced the most growth. Clarksville with almost 16%, Murfreesboro growing almost 20% in the last 5 years. Well, it's now down to 2 for the College Football National Championship. The Washington Huskies outlasting the Longhorns of Texas on New Year's night, 37-31 in the Sugar Bowl. Earlier in the day, Michigan topped Alabama in an overtime thriller, 27-20 in the Rose Bowl. It is the first trip to the national championship game for a Jim Harbaugh-led Wolverine team. Here is Harbaugh on what it would mean to win the national championship.
It's what it means to these guys, to our players the most, to them to be champions, for their parents to have their son be a champion, their brothers and sisters, their grandparents, for our coaches, for my kids to have a dad, be a champion, and my parents, and just those people that get to feel what that's like.
The national championship game is set for Monday, January 8th in Houston. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather there next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
637, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Man, it is great to be back. No, I mean it is. I'm actually really, really happy to be. Do I sound convincing?
You sound convincing, Dan.
Jay in for Ken, who will be back tomorrow. I sound convincing, right?
Absolutely.
Because I'm truly glad to be back.
I mean, and if people could see you on the TV thing here, they would be able to confirm your excitement.
That's exactly right. By the way, you know, I'm also thrilled that I'm not in Memphis. I don't know, Jay, did you see this story? I don't know if it hit your news wire, but it hit mine. So every city in the great state of Tennessee, their population has gone up with the exception of Memphis, who have lost. Memphis has lost 5% of their population, I guess, over the last several years.
That's right. I had the stats in the newscast here a few moments ago.
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
With Murfreesboro leading the way at almost 20% growth in the last 5 years.
Because you know what Murfreesboro needs is more traffic on I-24.
On I-24, yeah.
That's exactly what Murfreesboro needs.
Yeah. Ken Weaver and I get to sit in that from time to time.
Now, did they say that why people are fleeing Memphis? Is it because more people are killed, or is it just because they're just, people don't want to live there anymore?
I think it's probably a combination of the two.
I think you're probably right. Listen, Memphis, let's just be honest. Memphis is a crap hole. And when it comes to, I think it was my first week here where I was talking about, I think it was education in the state of Tennessee. And guy called me up, never forget it. It was like second or third day that I was on the air. And he says, Memphis it brings down the entire state. That's what it really does. And people are fleeing Memphis. Now, does your study, your story show where people are going? Like if they leave Memphis, where are they coming?
This was a smart asset, the website that does all this financial stuff. This was their study. And no, they did not give any details as to where they're headed.
Okay.
But, Nashville, Chattanooga, 3% increase. Clarksville, 15% increase. And the aforementioned Murfreesboro at almost 20%.
There you go. All right, very good. By the way, Johnny, I know that you're a Green Day fan, are you not? Is Johnny, you a Green Day fan?
No.
Oh. Well, you'll be even less of a fan after I do this next story because people are texting into the super text line at 615-737-9986. Did you hear that Billy Joe Armstrong,
there's a surprise,
who changed the lyrics to American Idiot? So let's see if you folks can pick this up. And Johnny needs some audio if I could.
Well, maybe I'm the America. I'm running part of a MAGA agenda. Everybody to the Republican. I say along at the age of paranoia.
Blah, 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 blah. So you heard him say something about the MAGA agenda. He doesn't want to be part of any MAGA agenda.
Okay.
Now, here's the crazy thing. Now, the people in the audience cheered, which is fine. Listen, I'm all about artistic expression, right? If that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. Do you know the word that they bleeped out there? You heard where it was just kind of, they clearly edited out a word. Right there, did you hear that?
Yeah. Right.
You know what word that was? It was the F word. That is a homophobic slur.
Ah.
So can you imagine if it was like, some Trump supporting, whatever.
Or Morgan Wallen.
Or Morgan Wallen that dropped a homophobic slur. But nobody cares that, Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong drops the F word because everybody's excited that he changed the lyrics so that it's a, anti-MAGA song.
And so shocking coming from Billy Joe.
Yeah, boy, it is, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Because I was actually curious about this. So, do you know the song, that song, American Idiot? It's actually an anti-American song, obviously. But do you know what inspired that song? Do you know what inspired Billy Joe Armstrong to write that song? It was, believe it or not, a Lynyrd Skynyrd song. He says that he was listening to the radio and a Lynyrd Skynyrd song called That's How I Like It came on the radio. Listen. is Leonard Skinner, and that song is called That's How I Like It. And supposedly Billy Joe Armstrong heard that song, and he was inspired to write American Idiot in response to the Leonard Skinner song. Here's what he said. He said in describing this song, it was like, I'm proud to be a redneck. And he says, I'm like, oh my God, why would you be proud of something like that? This is exactly what I'm against. So I don't know if you folks know this song. I would encourage you, actually, and I'm going to be honest, never heard this song. Johnny, you're a Leonard Skinner fan. You ever heard of that song?
Well, I'm a fan of the classic Leonard Skinner. This is the latter-day Leonard Skinner.
That's the other thing I'm curious about. Like, I didn't think this got played on the radio, but whatever.
Yeah.
Here's my question. Why would anybody be so vehemently against a guy, as depicted in the song, who likes his music loud? If you heard the lyrics, he likes his music loud. He loves his country. And the song also has themes of hot women, cold beer, whiskey, and life in the country.
Things us Americans love.
And appreciative of God, by the way, among other
Oh,
things.
my God. We can't have that.
You're going to trip Billy Joe, man.
Yeah.
It is a Southern rock and roll song, is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's basically, you like hot women, whiskey, the flag, God. What's the problem? What is it that Billy Joe Armstrong, why did it trigger him so much?
Well, because he's a commie. He doesn't like all that freedom-loving.
Yeah. We can't have that.
Well, you can't have any flag waving, no rednecks.
We can't have no flag waving, Bible waving rednecks in our country. No, we certainly can't.
And especially in any mega MAGA.
By the way, you know where he's from? He's from Oakland.
Billy Joe is?
Yeah, he's from Oakland.
Well.
You know where people are fleeing? Oakland. You know where they're coming, Billy Joe?
The South.
The South.
Yes, they are.
Numbnuts.
Billy Joe.
I mean, look, he can write whatever he wants to write.
Well, sure, and I'm sure everybody really wants to know how Billy Joe feels about politics. They want their if you're getting your if you're getting your political leanings from Billy Joe, you may want to look at yourself.
That's exactly right.
Well, Billy Joe doesn't seem to mind the capitalist society here.
No, he certainly does not, which is also
USA.
embraced in the South.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, to be clear, we're talking about Billy Joe Armstrong, not Billy Joel.
No.
Which somebody said we sound like we're talking about Billy Joel. No, we're talking about Billy Joe Armstrong, the lead singer of Green Day, who, for whatever reason, was triggered by a great. I like that Leonard Skinner song. It's
I do
not
as
one
well.
that I've ever heard. But clearly, this is a guy, Billy Joe Armstrong. He does have past drug addictions. I can't see why anyone would be against fast cars or good-looking women or beer or whiskey. So as you guys said, he was triggered by God and the flag and loving America. And so while the left is applauding this guy for, throwing down his anti-MAGA lyric there in American Idiot, and this was during the New Year's Eve, broadcast on, I guess it was ABC, while people are applauding, that change of lyric, I want you to think a little bit deeper as to what Billy Joe Armstrong actually stands for when he uses the homophobic slur, and he is clearly anti-God and anti-America, as the left puts this guy up on some sort of a soapbox and makes him a hero for doing what he did to his, terrible song anyway. 6:46, time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Think of Jack at 647, partly cloudy today, a high of 44. Right now, 34 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I will say this about Billy Joe Armstrong, is that, and this is to his credit, He still lives in Oakland. He was born and raised in Oakland, and he is one of the few people that hasn't left. He is I guess, a proud member of the community, and he doesn't want to leave. So he does invest in the community. I will say that. But you know what else? He is one of those, people on the left who have said that he was going to flee America. Right there on the stage, he pulled kind of like a Dixie Chicks. He was on the stage in London, and after the Supreme Court sent Roe versus Wade back down to the States, he said that he was going to leave America. And I wish these people, and I know it's cliche at this point for, people like me to say, please, I wish you would leave. But it's also cliche for them to constantly say that they're going to leave, and they simply don't. But yeah, this is from Reuters, adding that he was renouncing his citizenship in the wake of the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade's federal abortion protections, the overturning of it, sending it back down to the states. Armstrong said, there's too much blanking stupid in the world to go back to that miserable blanking excuse for a country. When he made his reveal, again, on stage in London, he says, I'm not kidding. You're going to get a lot of me in the coming days, because he said he was going to move, I guess, to the UK or something. And you know what? Again, it's one of those things where I wish you would just go. But they never do they? Has there been one? Can somebody on the super text line, has there been actually one celebrity that has said, I'm moving because of Donald Trump, I'm moving because of the Republicans, I'm moving because of Roe versus Wade, and they actually left? Has there been one that has actually done that? Because I don't think there has been. You had, give me some of the names, Johnny and Jay. So who are some of these leftists that said that they were going to leave the country because of Donald Trump?
What, Madonna, one of them?
I think Madonna was one.
Yeah, Cher.
Cher was one. I mean, there's so many.
Alec Baldwin, I think, was one.
Alec Baldwin. So, and they never do.
Yeah,
they never
Penn.
do. Who is that?
Sean Penn, I think, was also.
Yeah.
Oh, and Alyssa Milano. Let's not forget her.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Who could forget Alyssa Milano? Pamela Anderson? Did Pamela Anderson say that?
I don't know. I don't recall. Of course, I don't pay attention to Pamela Anderson much.
Tina Turner's another one.
Well,
I'm not going to say anything negative about Tina Turner.
She did move. I got to give her credit.
She did.
She moved out of the country.
9821 chooses to get a nasty comment about yours truly. What does a California carpetbagger know about Southern Rock?
What?
You know what?
Tough crowd.
That's okay.
No respect.
Okay.
No respect at all.
Billy Joe, 2607. Billy Joe has the most redneck name ever.
He does. Billy Joe Armstrong. Sounds like some fella down
That's
in...
right, old Billy Joe.
Billy Joe lived down there in
down there,
Mississippi.
Right.
I was at the iHeartRadio Music Festival when he had his mental breakdown on stage.
Oh, really?
Do you guys remember that?
Yes, I do.
When they told him that he only had 5 minutes left.
Yes.
And he had about 20 minutes worth of music that he still wanted to play. And I'll never forget this because my daughter she and I were at the concert. And he gets so angry. And you can see the clock because he can see the clock ticking down.
Yeah.
They got a big digital clock. And you've got to just stop singing by the time the clock hits 0. And so they played one last song. And if I remember right, they stopped playing in the middle of it. And he just starts taking his guitar and smashing it against the amplifiers.
That'll show them.
And the bass player and the drummer, I'll never forget this. They literally ran. They ran off the stage. They ran for cover. And Billy Joe Armstrong went immediately to rehab. That's what he did.
Should have stayed there.
He should have stayed there. That's exactly right.
Yes.
Yes, I know. Tina Turner died, people. That's why I said I'm not going to talk anything. I'm not going to say anything negative about Tina Turner.
No.
Anyway, 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 6:56, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. By the way, Tina Turner, there seems to be some debate as to why it is that she moved to, I guess it was Europe somewhere. And some say it was because of taxes. Others say it was because she was more popular there. Ozzy Osbourne initially said that he was moving back to the UK, but that wasn't because of politics. That was because he lives in Los Angeles and LA is a complete and utter train wreck. How bad do you have to be? How bad does it have to be if Ozzy Osbourne, of all people, says, oh, yeah, this place is chaos? And he announced that he was going to leave Los Angeles and move back to the UK. 6:57, Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Good morning. It is 7 o'clock, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, 35 degrees. The full forecast and traffic are just mere minutes away. In Japan, earlier today, a fiery mid-air collision shuts down one of the country's airports during one of the busiest travel days of the year, as officials there work to contain the burning aircraft that is on its runway. Here's ABC's Mark Gutman. He's in Tokyo with more.
Japanese authorities now say they're investigating the entire airport here, Haneda. An Airbus A350, which is a large plane, collided with that Japanese Coast Guard plane and burst into that fireball. Firefighters trying to put out the flames, and those 379 passengers on board and crew managing to escape.
The Joint Terrorism Task Force here in America is leading the investigation into the deadly and fiery car crash outside a New Year's Eve concert in upstate New York. 3 people now dead and 4 injured after a Ford Expedition SUV collided with an Uber driver's smaller SUV pulling out of a parking lot by the Kodak Center. Both vehicles plowing into pedestrians crossing the street. Investigators now looking into whether the crash may have stopped a possible terror attack after firefighters found more than a dozen gas canisters in that Ford SUV. Here's ABC's Aaron Katursky. He's on the scene with more.
We're told the driver of the Ford Expedition has died of his injuries overnight. Police have been conducting searches as they work to find out more, because the nagging question this morning: why would someone rent a giant SUV, fill it with gas cans, and then drive toward this crowded theater?
As Dan alluded to a little earlier on this morning's news, the Smart Asset website releasing its 2023 studies of the cities that saw their population go down the most between 2017 and 2022. Memphis, the only Tennessee city whose population decreased during that period. Memphis saw its population drop nearly 5% in that 5-year span. Nashville and Chattanooga, each with nearly a 3% increase during those 5 years. Knoxville had a nearly 5% increase. 2 cities in the mid-state, Clarksville and Murfreesboro, experiencing phenomenal growth. Clarksville at 15.5% and Murfreesboro just over 19% growth. The Market Numbers Report. The market numbers are brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. The Dow futures, if I can get my numbers to cooperate with me here. Before the opening bell, the Dow down 186, the S&P 500 down 32, and NASDAQ futures down 164. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather standing by. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
and Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into Tuesday, January 2nd. Feels like a Monday. Hope you're doing well, and Happy New Year to you. It's a big day for a lot of conservatives. Today is finally the day that Bill Clinton is going to be unmasked as Doe 36 and apparently identified more than 50 times in a big Jeffrey Epstein document dump. Yeah. Now, here's the thing, and I hate to break it to you folks, but I don't know if anything's going to happen to Bill Clinton. Because first of all, as far as I can tell, the only damning evidence is his name's going to be, in these documents. But you've got that picture, and I must have received this photograph from a couple of years ago, 50 times this morning, where it's like, Dan, you're going to talk about this? Dan, you're going to talk about this? Look, it's Bill Clinton getting a massage. The woman who was giving him the massage, friends, said that Bill Clinton actually was a perfect gentleman, which is hard to believe, isn't it? Actually, now that I think about it. But listen, you've got all these, Jeffrey Epstein victims, and they are victims, and they're not afraid to call out Prince Andrew. They're not afraid to call out, Jeffrey Epstein himself. And so for the official, you know who this girl was that was photographed massaging the shoulders of Bill Clinton? It was Epstein's personal masseuse. Now, I don't know how old she was. I don't know any of that. But she did say that Bill Clinton was a perfect gentleman. However, this is a very big day because this is the day that we've been waiting for. And this is from Fox News.
Former President Bill Clinton. That's according to ABC News, which notes that the 77-year-old is mentioned more than 50 times within the lengthy court text. The references will likely come from attempts to have Clinton testify against Epstein and Maxwell. The ABC News report mentions that there is no indication that the records contain any evidence of illegal conduct or allegations of wrongdoing by Clinton, although the accuser in the case did claim that she met the former president on Epstein's private island.
So Clinton's office, by the way, over the last couple of days, Bill Clinton's office said, go ahead, make our day. Release the documents. The former president didn't do anything wrong. Manhattan federal judge Loretta Presk has ordered the release of the long-sealed documents in a since-settled defamation lawsuit that Epstein accuser Virginia Roberts brought against the convicted pedophile's madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, back in 2015. Maxwell, of course, is in jail now, and Epstein is dead. I think he was suicided, right? So I'm sitting here thinking about all of this because it's a big story. I mean, it's not every day that you have a former president and hundreds of other people, really, really high rollers who are named in this kind of a, horrific, scandalous document. But all of these accusers, again, have been more than vocal about what happened to them. So if Bill Clinton, Fox News is one of their big stories. And I'm just going to say, and I don't like Bill Clinton. I don't like his policies. I feel bad for him that he's married to Hillary, but whatever. So here's the thing, though, is that if Bill Clinton actually did partake in, whatever happened on Epstein Island or the Lolita Express, I would think that we would know about it, wouldn't we? But I myself, and you folks, listen, if I'm wrong, you send me a note on the super text line. I mean, when you heard about all of this, and you heard that Bill Clinton was involved with Jeffrey Epstein, it all made sense. Because Bill Clinton, of course, everyone knows, quite the ladies' man, and he's had a lot of transgressions over the years. I think we all know that. But anyway, our own Senator Marsha Blackburn, as you know, she's been trying to get all of these names released now for quite some time, and she was being basically blocked at every turn. And she said this during a committee hearing just a couple of weeks ago. Marsha Blackburn.
I've been so disappointed that Chairman Durbin has continued to block this because Jeffrey Epstein had probably what is the most high-profile sex trafficking ring we've ever seen, ever heard about.
Yep.
It was high-profile, high dollar people that were predators on these young girls.
Yeah, it's horrific. Now, somebody, I think, is lying. And see, this is where, even though I said, yeah, I don't know if there's any actual proof that Bill Clinton did anything. But here's my question, is that you've got a number of different stories about whether or not Bill Clinton had actually been on Lolita Island. Because the victim in this case does say that she met the former president on the island, but old Bill says he's never been there. Definitely, though, did fly apparently to Paris, Bangkok, and Brunei in 2002 and 2023 as well. A couple of years later, they say Clinton cut off contact with Epstein and said that he knew nothing about those crimes. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I don't believe Bill Clinton. And I'm kind of curious as to why he was on a plane with Epstein anyway. But whatever. Listen, a lot of weirdness going on those airplanes. And the question is that if you think Bill Clinton did something, well, then you think anything's going to happen to Bill. I doubt it.
We need to have access to this. We need to know who was on that plane, who was participating in this. They redacted those records in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. But getting to the bottom of this is important. I don't know why there is a push to block these records.
Wait, I know why there's a push to block these records, and I bet you know too, because you listen to WTN. But I will state the obvious coming up next. It's coming up on 7:15. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. At 7:15 today, partly cloudy and a high of 44. Right now, 35 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN, talking about, the very exciting bombshell story of 150, 200 names are going to be released from the documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein. And Senator Marsha Blackburn, she asked this question a few weeks ago.
I don't know why there is a push to block these records.
Well, there's one obvious reason. It's because all these guys are Democrats. A lot of women, actually, Democrats as well. That is why Dick Durbin has been blocking the release of these documents. But here's some of the names. You ready? Because I looked up some of these folks. You've got the director of the CIA under Joe Biden. Yeah, William Burns, apparently on this list. You've got the Lolita Express, you've got the island itself, and you've got all of these names. And the question is, okay, so the names are on the list. Well, then what does that exactly mean? White House counsel Catherine Rumler, she was under Barack Obama. Known leftist Noam Chomsky, billionaire venture capitalist Reid Hoffman, also a Democrat. Former Harvard professor Lawrence Summers also worked under Barack Obama on the National Economic Council. Woody Allen, leftist, of course. Dr. Helen Fisher, an anthropologist. They say that she supposedly visited the staff there on the island. Jamie Ireland, a JP Morgan CEO. We've talked about Jamie Dimon before, a Democrat. Guy by the name of Jess Staley, former Barclays CEO. He's donated $224,000 to Democrats, including, by the way, Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer. Do I need to go on? Have we answered the question yet?
I don't know why there is a push to block these records.
Okay, well, yeah, they're all Democrats. How about Google co-founder Sergey Brin? Oh, there's more. Guy named Mortimer Zuckerman. Mortimer Zuckerman. He's a real estate tycoon who voted for Obama and actually helped to write one of his speeches, old Mortimer did. And I could find one guy that appears to be a Republican. One guy named Thomas Pritzker, Hyatt Hotels chairperson, Thomas Pritzker. He donated a bunch of money to Republicans, including Dick Lugar. And according to campaignmoney.com, he also gave to one Bob Corker for his Senate run back in 2012. So just in case you were wondering.
I don't know why there is a push to block these records.
It's because they're all Democrats. At least a lot of these people are Democrats, and some very, very powerful people are going to be on this list. But here, again, here's the deal. We don't know who is on this list. We don't know if they actually did anything with these underage girls. We don't know if they did anything wrong at all. But the fact that Epstein was doing all of this and then got arrested, and then they say that he committed suicide, which obviously he didn't. That is obvious. The guards were magically not around or asleep when he was supposed to be being watched, and the cameras magically not working at the time that all this went down. It's all just crazy. But the actual question is, will any of these people actually face any criminal charges? You got Epstein that's dead. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison. And I'm all for these names being released, but ultimately to what end? I mean, they do need to be exposed, but here's the thing. What if you were actually literally just, you had no idea what kind of a creepazoid the Jeffrey Epstein was, and you're just like, hey, let's go to Bangkok with Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Clinton. And you're like, hey, okay, yeah, let's go. And you have no idea what was going on. And it's perfectly plausible that some people were on that plane, the Lolita Express, but nothing happened. There may have not been any girls. I don't know. But you know what? Here's the thing. It's going to be very fascinating to watch to see how the Democrats play all of this. It is 7:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7, WTN. Jason says this list is going to stimulate the hitman economy. See, that's funny, Jason. This list is going to stimulate the hitman economy. Lena says, one of my favorite listeners, by the way, and by the way, all of you are my favorite listeners, but especially Lena. Lena says, wasn't it Bill Clinton that said that he didn't inhale and he did not have a sexual relationship with that female? Yeah, Lena, that is Bill Clinton, actually, as a matter of fact. 4536, Bill Clinton lies. That is a fact. Is Monica Lewinsky available for comment? Asks 4536. You know what? You people need to start writing my material. Can I just start posting my monologues and you guys could just start feeding me material? Because I love these lines. That's very funny. 4295, they had a painting of Bill in a blue dress on the island. I thought that wasn't that in his Manhattan home, Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan home?
I think so.
Yeah. Maybe there's a picture of Bill Clinton. You know what?
There might be.
I'm going to ask a loaded question. There's no right way to answer this, Johnny, so you get the question.
Oh, great.
Feel free to turn me into human resources.
Sure.
Who do you think looks better in the blue dress, Bill or Hillary? Moving right along. 722 on Nashville's
Anybody but Hillary.
Morning News. She was wearing, there was this, oh gosh. There was something on Twitter. I don't know who sent it to me. One of you people sent it to me. It was awesome. And it was a picture of Hillary. I don't know what it's like do you know what Hillary, she wears circus tents.
Yes, she does.
And she looks like a circus tent in these clothes.
Yeah, these big old smocks.
Yes, she wears smocks. What is that? And why does she do that? I mean, I don't understand.
Almost looks like a Chinese spy balloon.
That's exactly what it looks like, Johnny. Chinese spy balloon. worn by Hillary Clinton.
There you
Stoltz
go.
Co. 722 on Nashville's Morning News. Business is booming over at Stoltz Co. My friends at Stoltz Co. The question people always ask is, how incredible are those pole barns from Stoltz Co.? Every event that we've had since I started talking about Stoltz Co., I have at least one person come up to me and ask me about their incredible pole barns at Stoltz Co. For example, what are they? Well, a pole barn from Stoltz Co. is anything you want it to be. A classic tool and work barn, a garage, or a place to live. A pole barn from Stoltz Co. is practical, efficient, and flexible, and a pole barn from Stoltz Co. is going to stand the test of time. So if you're hearing this commercial right now and thinking about a piece of land you have, or maybe a section of your property that you simply don't know what to do with, put up a pole barn from my friends at Stoltz Co. Call them, 615-622-5992. If you've got a minute, check them out at their website at stoltzco.com. STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com, or you can find them on Instagram or Facebook, Stoltz Co., where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP and the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11, or jumping into energy stocks, or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors, because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Good morning. We are coming up on 7:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a cloudy sky. We've dropped a couple of degrees. We're at 31 degrees now. We'll have a full forecast and another traffic update coming up. Japanese officials today still working to get needed aid to the western coast that was hit by that 7.6 earthquake over the weekend, slamming a number of the country's transportation alleys to a halt. ABC's Matt Gutman, he's in Tokyo.
That magnitude 7.6 quake flattening buildings, severing power lines, and killing dozens. It forced tens of thousands in coastal areas to evacuate. Hundreds of other passengers traveling on high-speed bullet trains stranded for several hours. Major roadways buckling, making them impassable.
As the number of southern border crossings continues to climb, mayors across the U.S. scrambling to accommodate the busloads of migrants that are being sent to their cities with little or no notice, pushing places like New York to the brink. ABC's Mola Lenghi. She has more.
New York's Mayor Adams issuing an executive order requiring charter buses provide the city at least 32 hours notice prior to arrival, but buses seemingly skirting around that order over the holiday weekend. Local officials saying an estimated 10 buses from Texas and one from Louisiana dropped off about 400 migrants at New Jersey transit stations, where they continued into the city by train.
Back here in Tennessee, with the new year, a number of new laws have gone into effect, many of them related to crime and public safety. One bill, known as the Eddie Conrad Act, increases the number of points that can be charged to someone's driving record if they're caught texting while driving. It particularly affects people under the age of 18. You will receive 7 points for a second or subsequent offense if you're under 18. That's enough to potentially have your license suspended anywhere from 6 to 12 months. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather. They're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Listen, this is the company that I go with to take care of and maintain my HVAC unit, and you should too. Now, you become a Beehive member, you ensure that you are running at peak efficiency for maximum comfort. So if your heater goes down in the middle of winter, then you, if you're a Beehive member, you get front-of-the-line service. So you need to become a Beehive member like I did years ago. This is a company that I believe in. And by the way, if your heater does break down, again, you call this number, you're going to get front-of-the-line service, 615-775-7833. So in hundreds, maybe thousands of homes are without heat, you are going to get service first. And when you become a Beehive member from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, that also means that you're going to get 3 thorough maintenance services a year, including plumbing. Plus, no overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off of all repairs. For satisfaction guaranteed, call my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling and become a Beehive member like me. Again, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com. 7:35, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in to January 2nd of 2024. Guys, this is big news in my world. I am halfway through the show, more than halfway through the show, and I have not shanked the year check yet. You know, we do time checks, 7:35, but then you throw in the year as well. That's a year check, and I have not shanked the year check as of yet. It is 2024. However, got to knock on wood, because if there's one guy on the staff that'll do it, it's me. Sadly, I think we all know that. Matthew Hurt is joining us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Nashville's Morning News, our grassroots political analyst. And Matthew, as always, thanks for joining us here on this Tuesday. Let's talk about something. I don't know if you'd call this political or not, but in the past 30 minutes or so, I was talking about the big news that Jeffrey Epstein, the names are going to be dropped today, and a lot of political intrigue going on. And I don't know, you're right there in the belly of the beast. Are the Democrats freaking out?
You know, and Happy New Year, Dan. Happy 2024. It is a big story, but as I was listening to your segment earlier in the hour, I tend to agree with you. But it does seem, according to Senator Blackburn and in the committees, that the Democrats are upset that Republicans are so dogged about this. And I think it's important for the American people to know. You know, Jeffrey Epstein was a significant criminal in the U.S. justice system. As you said, he was suicided, yep. And this is still unknown information to the American people. And I think it is important for us to have that information to assess whether or not our elected leaders and those who have held office should be held accountable for actions or behavior that they engaged in with their relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It's very important for us to know.
Well, it's absolutely important to us to know. And if there's some untoward behavior, if there were some crimes that were broken, absolutely throw the book at anybody, obviously Republicans or Democrats. They do need to be held accountable. That's going to be one of the big questions. It's like, okay, so you know, your name is in the black book, your name is on the flight itinerary and so on and so forth, but can they prove that somebody did something wrong? And that is going to remain to be seen. But it's going to be a very interesting day, because you want to listen to, you know, Chris Hand and Matt Murphy and Brian Wilson all day long here on WTN, because that story is going to be out at some point today. Now, here's the thing, Matthew. I think there's a far bigger story that is going on right now. Sam Bankman-Fried will not face any campaign finance charges. Now, everybody knows who this guy is. He's the CEO, the founder of FTX, built billions and billions of dollars from investors. And he was funneling a lot of that money to not only Democrats, but also Republicans as well. And so now he was convicted on some other charges, but he was going to face a second trial related to the campaign finance charges. And then the DOJ comes along and says, nah, we don't need to do that. And a lot of people are saying, well, now we're not going to know who this guy was bribing. What's your take on all this?
Well, and this is the problem with access politics. And it's the same with Jeffrey Epstein. These individuals use their influence, use their money, use their resources to have outsized access to our elected leaders, mostly Democrats in this case, but in some instances, Republicans as well. And we have to have a discerning eye. It is unfortunate, and as I've talked about on this show before, the over-criminalization or the politicization of our justice system that allows people in the DOJ or prosecutors to either stack charges or take charges away from someone based on the political reality or the likelihood that they'll actually be adjudicated through the justice system. And so it looks like we have a situation here where Joe Biden's political Department of Justice is going to decide not to pursue charges in this instance. And these are very serious crimes, but the IRS and the FEC, they step back in instances like this, and it causes the average American who doesn't have access to our elected leaders to the extent that these individuals do, to say the system is rigged. And I think that's a fair assessment. And we're going to see this with Sam Bankman-Fried. We saw it to a certain extent for a long time with Jeffrey Epstein, and there are dozens or countless other individuals who do have outsized access or influence over our elected leaders who are not held to the same standard as the average American.
740 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matthew Hurt joining us, grassroots political analyst. I thought this was an interesting headline. This is from the Washington Examiner. President Joe Biden is dealing with the worst border crisis ever. Should the GOP help him? Now, I thought that was interesting because you've got Karine Jean-Pierre and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all these fools on the left saying that the Republicans are holding up any, real changes to our immigration policy. So, and everyone who pays attention knows that that is wrong, that the Republicans have passed in the House of Representatives H.R. 2. So the question is, that is being posed by the Washington Examiner, is that clearly this is a issue that is destroying Joe Biden. I mean, his numbers, every day it's new numbers that are out and they're down. Every day they're down. Should the GOP negotiate with Joe Biden, whether it's in the House of Representatives, where they've already passed H.R. 2, or the Senate, where Chuck Schumer refuses to talk about anything regarding illegal immigration? How far should the Republicans help Joe Biden?
This is where political wrangling really hurts the American people. The border crisis is significant. Illegal immigrants are flooding into the country, traveling by plane to places, bus to other places. New York City has restricted the buses that can come in, and now they're flying in or taking the train in from New Jersey. And this is a serious question for Republicans in 2024. Unfortunately, I think in the House and in the Senate more so, that there are more Republicans who are willing to sort of, hem and haw around the immigration issue to not solve the problem, because it would give, those Republicans, the moderate Republicans, want to see a system where people are able to become American citizens regardless of how they come into the country. And more hardline or more serious Republicans are interested in securing the border. If they do that, if serious Republicans are able to accomplish that goal, it does give Joe Biden an advantage. Now, is that ultimately good for the country? It is. Is it good for the politics headed into 2024? Maybe not. But Joe Biden is upside down now among Latino Americans who are arguably even more hardline on immigration policy because they came into the country the legal way. He's upside down on young voters against Donald Trump. And he's even slipped 20 points among Black Americans who arguably are the most damaged by illegal immigration when it comes to low-income job opportunities or entry-level or more blue-collar jobs. And so this is a serious question. Republicans should stand firm on this issue, but at what cost through the 2024 election cycle, that remains to be seen.
It's a tough question too, isn't it, Matthew? Because on the one hand, you know that if you throw Joe Biden a lifeline and you work with him on, I'm air quoting here, common sense immigration reform, then when he gets in, if he's reelected because the Republicans helped him, then he might executive order us right back to where we are right now. You cannot trust him. He is a Democrat and he is a snake. So as far as the Republicans go, I don't know how you deal with helping, or that question of helping Joe Biden, because I would say that it might benefit the country, and this is very much up for debate, but I think this might benefit the country to let Joe Biden die with the policies that he executive ordered in when he was sworn in, because we've got about another year left, and so bottom line is, you don't know what he would do if he got a second term, but it's a conversation for another day. Coming up, I'm going to play you some audio from Jamie Raskin, and he was on with Dana Bash over the weekend, and he's talking about Donald Trump, and he's talking about what the Republicans need to do regarding Donald Trump and the situation with Colorado and Maine. And it's all straight ahead at 7:45. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Partly cloudy today, a high of 44, 32 now at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Jamie Raskin was on with Dana Bash, and this just made my head explode. There's a lot to play here, but I'm going to play you this one cut first. And this is him talking about Donald Trump and will he end up as a martyr with all of the legal issues that he is facing.
You know, if he's allowed to stay on the ballot despite his clear incitement of an insurrection, an attempt to overturn the results in the 2020 election, and he loses to Joe Biden, as he almost certainly would. Biden beat him by more than 7 million votes last time, and we just have millions of young new voters who've joined the rolls, and they can't stand Donald Trump and the Republican Party. If he loses, he will feel himself a martyr there, and he will try to overturn the election result again. So I don't think we can run scared from Donald Trump.
So I don't know. What do you think? A couple of things is the polling, and you just talked about some of the polling, shows that Trump, particularly among younger voters, is actually doing quite well. Thank you very much. So what do you think about Donald Trump being a martyr?
I've known Jamie Raskin for a long time. Since about 2010, I worked in Maryland politics for a little bit.
Has he always been full of crap?
He's a left-wing attorney. He was on Judicial Proceedings Committee in the Maryland State Senate before he got elected to Congress, and he loves opportunities like this, and especially being in the Beltway media. He's very close. He could jump on CNN anytime, and this is a dream for him to be able to make these wild and outlandish statements. You know, no court has convicted Donald Trump of inciting an insurrection or a riot, and so this is an attorney falsely and blatantly abusing his legalese to navigate this in Colorado and Maine and other states where Democrats, activist Democrats, are attempting to subvert democracy. Jonathan Turley and other attorneys, constitutional attorneys, have said, you know, their argument is we must destroy democracy to save democracy. And this is absolutely outlandish and outrageous. I don't think it will ultimately hold up if it goes before the Supreme Court. And certainly somebody like Clarence Thomas, who is a stalwart on the court, should be involved in the decision of securing our democratic processes. He shouldn't recuse himself. This is another, you know, wild political statement by a guy who just wants to raise money to win re-election and to position and jockey himself in greater leadership roles among the Democratic caucus in the House.
This is how Dana Bash, you're talking about Clarence Thomas, this is how Dana Bash, who every time I think that journalism is dead, we reach new depths of death with Dana Bash. And so this is how she posed a question to Jamie Raskin about recusing conservative judges. Listen.
3 of the sitting justices were appointed by Donald Trump. And in addition to that, Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, texted with Mark Meadows about the 2020 election and the lead up to January 6th, as you will know. Should any of the justices recuse themselves?
So she is talking about not only Clarence Thomas, but she's also seeming to me intimating that the other 3, air quoting, conservative judges should also recuse themselves. It seems to me, Matthew Hurt, that what they're doing is they are setting up to call Donald Trump, an illegitimate president yet again if he does win the second term.
In Virginia last week, left-wing activists attempted and failed to remove Donald Trump from the ballot in my now state of Virginia. And the judge who decided that was a Clinton-appointed, Democrat-appointed judge from the 90s in the Eastern District of Virginia in federal courts. And so this now has a bipartisan opposition to removing Donald Trump from the ballot. This is, I think, just another effort. It's a very leading question by Dana Bash. It's further proof that CNN is not attempting to generate news, but to generate left-wing commentary. And I think it's a silly premise. These judges are appointed to be impartial and to carry out the law. They have judicial philosophy, which transcends partisan boundaries. The partisan politics we see play out in the House, thanks to Jamie Raskin and others. And this is just a non-starter. I think most Americans will flatly dismiss this kind of activity.
You're right there in the swamp, Matthew. When you've got these, narrative talkers like Dana Bash, who, because when you watch this interview, I'm just picking apart lie after lie after lie after lie, and there's no follow-up. And so when you see these kinds of things, do people within the swamp understand how ridiculous, I'm air quoting journalists for Dana Bash, these journalists are who refuse to ask follow-up questions? And you've got Jamie Raskin, who simply is lying, and he's given a stage to lie to the American people, an elected official.
Most of the folks in the D.C. area in the swamp take their information from the morning shows throughout the week. It used to be Morning Joe, but it's less so now. And anything that either doesn't align with a worldview or doesn't fit a narrative on either side, the left to the right, usually just gets ignored. It'll make the news cycle here. You and I will talk about it here on WTN, and Americans will be upset by it. But then we move on because there's always something else in this. It used to be the 24-hour news cycle, and now it's the 24-minute news cycle. And this is another headline I think will largely be ignored, but it should be understood. This is just another effort by CNN to drive a narrative that is against, most of the listeners here on WTN and most of the American people. And I think that what's important for us as consumers of news and informed voters, especially folks who listen to your program and who listen to WTN, is to consume CNN. See it every once in a while, see what they're saying, understand what is real and what is false, and then read news and consume news in other places.
Yep.
I think the more access to more news and commentary that we get, the better informed we are, and then we get to assume or we get to assess what is true and what isn't, and make informed decisions based on what we know to be true.
And that's why I read Daily Mail, Fox News, Drudge, CNN, MSNBC, you name it. I read all of it. And I can tell you, friends, that unfiltered truth really is not out there today unless you listen to talk radio. It's 7:52. Matthew Hurt, where can people find you on X?
I'm on Twitter or X, and you can find me at Matthew Hurt. That's MattheWHurtt.
All right. Thank you, Matthew, and have a great rest of week. It is 7:53 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Winter is here, and friends, if you've had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your old windows, bundling up in layers of clothes and blankets, and hearing the heat turn on for the fifth time this hour, it is time for you to call the pros at Window Nation. Now, replacing those old windows with quality, energy-efficient ones from Window Nation is easier and more affordable than you might think. And right now, through the end of January, replace the windows in your home and pay no interest for 5 years. That is a great deal. And on top of all that, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all styles of windows. That is a great deal from Window Nation when you mention my name. Don't wait with 0% interest for 5 years. Why not give Window Nation a look? Let us show you all the options to fit your needs and your budget. It is easy. Call them 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION, or you can find them online, windownation.com. 7:57, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Yeah, I know the Epstein files. That is big news, but there's also big news that broke over the last couple of days. Sam Bankman-Fried will not face campaign finance charges. I'm going to give the details straight ahead. Also, big news on illegal immigration. It's all straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is exactly 8 a.m. Good morning. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We still have cloudy conditions, 31 degrees, a full forecast and traffic in just a few minutes. The Joint Terrorism Task Force leading the investigation into a deadly and fiery crash outside a New Year's Eve concert in upstate New York. 3 people are now confirmed dead and 4 injured after a Ford Expedition SUV collided with an Uber driver's smaller SUV who was pulling out of a parking lot by Kodak Center. Both vehicles plowing into pedestrians crossing the street. Investigators now are looking into whether the crash may have stopped a possible terror attack after firefighters found more than a dozen gas canisters in that Ford SUV. Aaron Katersky from ABC News is at the scene with more.
We're told the driver of the Ford Expedition has died of his injuries overnight. Police have been conducting searches as they work to find out more, because the nagging question this morning, why would someone rent a giant SUV, fill it with gas cans, and then drive toward this crowded theater?
As the number of southern border crossings continues to climb, mayors across the country, they're scrambling to accommodate the busloads of migrants that are being dispatched to their cities with little notice, pushing places like New York to the brink. Here's Mola Lenghi with more.
New York's Mayor Adams issuing an executive order requiring charter buses provide the city at least 32 hours notice prior to arrival, but buses seemingly skirting around that order over the holiday weekend. Local officials saying an estimated 10 buses from Texas and 1 from Louisiana dropped off about 400 migrants at New Jersey transit stations, where they continued into the city by train.
A passenger plane and a Japanese Coast Guard aircraft collided on the runway at Tokyo's Haneda Airport today and burst into flames. Japan's Transport Minister Tsuyo Saito confirmed that all 379 occupants of a Japan Airlines flight did get out safely before the plane was entirely engulfed in flames. The pilot of the Coast Guard plane, he also escaped, but 5 crew members now have been reported dead. The commercial airliner was an Airbus A350 that had flown from an airport near the city of Sapporo to Haneda. And finally, here in Music City, a favorite night spot among Nashvillians and tourists since 1994, the Wild Horse Saloon has closed its doors. The venue announcing that on social media today. In April of last year, 2023, it was announced that hitmaker Luke Combs had been partnered with Opry Entertainment Group, which owns the property, to rebrand the venue as a 4-story honky-tonk. The bar will still feature a big dance floor for line dancing, a concert hall, a bar for legalized sports betting, and an indoor-outdoor rooftop. The Luke Combs venue is expected to open later this year. The Market Numbers Report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. You can find them online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures before the bell. The Dow down 238. The S&P 500 down 39. And NASDAQ futures down 178. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And go, my fellow Americans.
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. It is 2024, January 2nd. Hope you're having a great morning so far. Yeah, I know the situation with illegal immigration is absolutely insane. And so we'll be talking about that as well. But I do want to get this in because, to be honest, it seems like every single day, and I feel like I say this every single day, that we see new records in illegal immigration by the day. I just saw a story on Fox News where it shows that now you have all of these young adults, these illegal aliens that are coming into our country, and they've got fake papers. They've got fake passports showing them as minors so that they can, get that just come on right in card. But see, the question that I posed, and I think it's interesting, some of the responses that I got. So I'm going to invite more responses, then I'll tell you about what people say. But should the Republicans bail out Joe Biden? In other words, how much should the Republicans compromise with Joe Biden? I'm going to talk about that coming up because I think that there's some people that are saying, well, of course we should compromise with Joe Biden. Here's the problem. The problem is that Joe Biden's version of compromise will do nothing to protect the southern border. That's the problem. And we'll get into that straight ahead. Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, if you don't remember who he is, this guy is, clearly a scumbag. This is a guy who swindled billions and billions of dollars away from investors. And he took that money and he went ahead and made a bunch of political donations to a lot of Democrats and, yes, some Republicans as well. And so you kept waiting. You kept waiting for the founder of FTX to face some of these campaign finance charges because he was donating to all of these Democrats. And the question was, is there bribery going on? What is going on? Tax evasion, some sort of campaign finance charges, and they can tie that back to some of the politicians that Sam Bankman-Fried donated to because, let's face it, influence peddling is alive and well, and particularly with the Democrats. So we're all expecting this trial and these charges, and the DOJ comes along and they say, nah. The DOJ announced that he will not face any of these charges related to campaign finance violations. Nope. All done. Now, remember again who this guy is. He used to run that crypto company, FTX, and he was all about charity. Remember this? I played you this audio months ago. Sam Bankman-Fried was all about charitable giving and earning to give. And Johnny, need some audio, please?
He believes in the concept of earn to give, which means his goal as a human is to make as much money as possible just to give it away. Earn to give. And that's exactly what he's doing.
Right. He earned billions of dollars and he was giving to mostly Democrats. But he funded those donations by ripping off customers. And then as he gives to those politicians, again, mainly on the left, then he curries favor with them, and then he is able to gain influence with the money that he swindled out of these investors. And so this was a major story, and he's been going on trial, of course, and he was convicted of 7 criminal counts for stealing billions of dollars from his customers. The whole thing just collapsed, FTX, and people lost everything. But this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, he's like a total cult of personality, all about giving to charity.
And he is funding everything you can think of. Global warming.
It's one of the biggest problems that we have to tackle together as a world.
COVID-19 preparedness.
We have to be ready for the next pandemic.
Neglected tropical diseases.
More than 1 billion people suffer from them. We have to eliminate these diseases.
And of course, animal welfare.
Animals deserve to live just like we do. It's also why I'm vegan.
I mean, come on. What a BS artist if I've ever heard one. And you'll notice that all of the things that he said, or all of the things that were in that little piece, they're all the progressive, liberal, mamby-pamby buzzwords, right? It's all about, animals and the environment and all of these things. And it just plays right into who this guy is and the Democrats. So he's not giving to all of these different charitable opportunities. He's giving to politicians. And from what I can tell, $100 million went to U.S. political campaigns, and he was trying to influence, and he did. Listen to this. Maxine Waters. You know that famous video where Maxine Waters actually blows this guy a kiss when he was testifying in front of Congress a while ago before he got caught? That's Maxine Waters blowing this guy a kiss who has swindled billions of dollars out of innocent investors. That's Maxine Waters. He gave millions to House Democrats, $6 million, they say. He also gave $24 million to the, quote, Protect Our Future PAC, which was supporting pandemic preparedness. That PAC, by the way, in turn, spent $24 million giving to a bunch of House Democrats. You see how that works, the whole funneling of the money? That's what they do. I mean, these numbers are just outrageous. He also gave at least $1 million to one Mitch McConnell and his Senate Leadership Fund. And the Citizens for Ethics reports that Fried and his associates gave McConnell a total of $15 million to one of his dark money groups. So you've got all of these different donations, $1 million, $15 million, $60,000, $250,000, and some are going to, dark money funds. Some are actually legit. Some are being made by Sam Bankman-Fried himself. Others are making donations, for him. Basically, if I said, hey, Johnny, donate money to Marsha Blackburn. Here's $1,000. That's how they did it inside of his corporation. But I want to make sure that wasn't lost, that the accusation is that, yes, a lot of Democrats and Mitch McConnell, they say $15 million to one of his dark money groups. And after that donation was made, the accusation is that they got a private dinner with the Senate leader, the Senate Majority Leader. I think he was Majority Leader at the time. They also gave $750,000 to House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. And so for the fact that this guy is not going to face any of these charges means that this is just another, at least to me, example of the swamp taking care of the swamp. Now you got people that are saying that this is just another example of how the politicians get away with things that you could never get away with. It is 8:15. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you, Jack. Partly cloudy today, a high of 44, right now 34. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, you want to be listening today to 105 when Matt Murphy's show has Representative Tim Burchett on, and he tweeted out, he was one of the, what's fascinating? What's fascinating is this story broke days ago, and I was looking around for some audio. Did anybody do any kind of an interview, with some lawmaker about that? No. Everybody is so quiet about this story, except for Tennessee Republican in the House, Tim Burchett, who says, so we won't know which politicians he bribed or whose campaign he influenced. that collective sigh of relief you are hearing is from the deep state. Talking about Sam Bankman-Fried. And Congressman Burchett is absolutely right. And so Matt's got him on at 105, and, we'll get more of a, wider perspective and a deeper perspective from Tim Burchett, because I got to tell you, when I saw that, I was absolutely disgusted. And I believe that the reason why you have so many of the media outlets, you know what, I've got Fox News on this morning, and I haven't seen, maybe they have and I just missed it, but I haven't seen Fox News cover this story at all. Now, here's the question that I posed about illegal immigration, and I'm kind of, hitting to all fields. But there's another story in the news. Can I just be honest with you and tell you, I don't even know what it is. It's another story about record-breaking illegal immigration, and day after day after day, we set more records for illegal immigration. And so we all know the stories, Governor Abbott shipping them off to these various cities that are run by Democrats, so on and so forth. But the Washington Examiner did have that article that I thought was interesting, which is, should the Republicans try and throw a lifeline and work with and compromise with Joe Biden? Because Biden is losing his tail on this one. And so should the Republicans come back, and should the Republicans compromise? As a matter of fact, Mehmet Murphy, if you happen to be listening, ask Tim Burchett about that as well. Because I would like to know what the Republicans feel about that idea. You see, here's my thing, and I hope I explained this well earlier. Why would the Republicans do anything to help Joe Biden? I do understand that by helping Joe Biden, you could perhaps come to some sort of a compromise on illegal immigration. But you've got to realize that Biden, number one, you can't trust him. We can come to a compromise until he ends up using that compromise as a way to, claim victory. And then he gets reelected in 2024 again, or I should say, later on this year in 2024. And he does the same damn thing for another 4 years and just reneges on all of the promises that he made to Republicans, because we saw what Joe Biden is made of on day one. And he's been lying to us day after day after day. And by the way, when Joe Biden says, oh, yeah, let's compromise. Well, what he probably means by that is, okay, so let's get a whole bunch of, Border Patrol agents or ICE agents, whatever, and let's put them on the southern border. But it won't be to protect the border. It won't. It'll be to usher all of these people in, and the Democrats get exactly what they want, which is more and more illegal aliens, more and more people coming into this country. And they'll be given amnesty. They'll be allowed to, vote. And Democrats have then just imported an entirely new voting bloc. You see, that's what Joe Biden wants to do. So I guess if the Republicans actually got some real compromises out of Joe Biden, then maybe it's something to discuss. I just don't think that you can trust Joe Biden. And if you can't trust him, then you sure as heck don't come up with some sort of a deal. Why not just let him hang? Why not just let him suffer the consequences of what he has done to our country? Because he wants an open border, he's got an open border, consequences be damned. So we deal with the open border, do whatever we can for another year, and then we fix it when we get back into office. Whether it's, I should have asked Matthew Hurt about the chances of the Republicans flipping the Senate. But if we can flip the Senate, flip the White House, and keep more of a majority in the House of Representatives, then we can do amazing things. And it doesn't mean that I'm selling out the country and trying to be divisive. No. All I'm saying is I'm being a realist. You can't trust the Democrats. I like our chances if we were able to get, the Senate and the White House and a stronger majority in the House of Representatives. What do you think? 615-737-9986, 822 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Well, here we are, wintertime, and that means possible snow, ice, and power outages as well. The question I have for you is, are you ready? If you think that you might not, you've got to call my friends at Cove Generators. They are experts in keeping your power on and your family safe. Be prepared this winter with a Generac home standby generator, the best generators around to keep your heat on if your power goes out. These are customized for your home. They also have portable generators as well. Cove Generators are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer. Call them today and be prepared for winter. Now, at Cove Generators, just so you know, all they do is generators. So they know what they're doing, and they do it at a fair price and great customer service. Now, if you've already got a generator, call them to perform maintenance on your Generac automatic standby generator or any brand generator that you own. Find them online at covegenerators.com and never lose power again. That's 931-559-3311. 931-559-3311. Terms and conditions may apply. Call for details. Tell Dan Mandis told you to reach out. covegenerators.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've been teaching investing on Nashville airwaves for over 20 years with the Investor Coaching Show. And in that time, I taught a lot about how markets work and how we invest money and academic principles of investing money. But I've also talked an awful lot about how to avoid the mistakes that people often make with their money. Think about it. A lot of people sold out of the market at the worst time when COVID struck, or when TARP happened, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, or gold, they invested in that at the worst time. Bailing out of the market because they were worried about Y2K or 9/11 or jumping into energy stocks or jumping into cryptocurrency. One of the things that I like to do is educate investors because I believe that the more educated you are, the more confident you are, and the more confident you are, the more successful you can be as an investor. Now, I not only do that on our radio show, but we do that in our offices around the Nashville region, 10 offices. To learn more about our approach to investing and financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Well, you're losing your hair and you need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians. You want something that's guaranteed to work. Guys and ladies, by the way, you need Advanced Hair. Now, Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to the unmatched results they produce. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, you can address all of these in a simple one-day treatment in a calm and relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of breakthrough advanced FUE treatments. And get this, your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day. No one else in Nashville can offer the advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair. Fix hair loss today, starting with your free consultation. And you'll also get $500 off if you move forward and mention my name. So call them, 629-348-HAIR. 629-348-HAIR. Refine your hairline with the team that has redefined hair restoration. And don't forget to ask about the Advanced Hair Guarantee. 629-348-HAIR, advancedhair.com.
Good morning. It is 8:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got some sun now. 33 degrees in Music City. The full forecast and traffic in just a few minutes. Tensions in the Red Sea continue to rise as Iranian-backed rebels slammed this weekend's offensive strike from a U.S. Navy helicopter that was responding to a distress call from a cargo ship that was moving through the vital waterway. Marcus Moore from ABC News is in Tel Aviv.
U.S. Central Command saying U.S. Navy helicopters returned fire in self-defense, sinking 3 of the 4 small boats and killing the crews. A spokesperson for the Iranian-backed proxy saying that while, quote, the American enemy bears the consequences of this crime and its repercussions, the rebels were trying to prevent the ship from reaching Israel.
The Market Numbers Report is brought to you this morning by Beacon Capital Management. They can be found online at beaconcm.com. We've got Jim Ryan with this morning's Money News.
From ABC News, Wall Street Now. The peaks and valleys of 2023 were definitely dominated by the peaks toward the end of the year. The stock market finished 2023 with a bang as the S&P climbed for 9 weeks in a row. The Dow Jones scored a 13.7% gain and notched a new record during 2023. A rally in cryptocurrencies finds Bitcoin topping $45,000, its highest level in nearly 21 months. In early Tuesday trade, Bitcoin had extended Monday's rally. The new year could see the nation's average gas price of $3.11 on the rise. Tensions in the Middle East and expected stronger demand in China boosted crude prices by 1.5% over the weekend. Drivers hoping to skip gas pumps altogether by buying electric vehicles are seeing their options slim if they also want to take advantage of federal tax credits. New Year's Day saw the list of vehicles eligible for a $7,500 tax credit drop from 43 to 19.
Here are the latest numbers on the stock exchange. The Dow Index down 87, the S&P 500 down 26, and NASDAQ down 138. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
8:37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the gang of four amigos. Ken Weaver's out today. Jay Harper's in for Ken. Morning, Jay.
Howdy there, Dan.
Johnny's in for himself. Hello, Johnny.
Yeah, I always like to represent myself. Thank you.
That's kind of day I'm having today, Chris. I'm here for myself, and Chris is here for himself.
Yeah, I've noticed, though, that you've been on point with 2024.
Yes, I've not shanked the year yet. In all your time in radio, have you ever heard of a year check?
Oh, my gosh. No.
I made that whole thing up. That was just, Johnny, in all your years, and Jay, have you guys ever heard of a year check? We talk about time checks. I came up with year check today.
Happy birthday.
And happy. Anyway. Hello, Chris. Long time no see.
It's been a good few days off.
So I should count how many days I've been off the air, but it seems like forever based on my performance today. My 5 o'clock.
Dan is always so hard on himself. I listen on the way in.
He's his worst critic.
And I'm like, all right, good show. Like I'm listening. I liked the grassroots political guy you had on, Matthew Hurt. Matthew Hurt.
Yep.
He was great. Like, you guys had a good rapport. I was like, I was learning things. Then I come in and Dan goes, "Oh, it's been a tough show." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I've been enjoying it.
Are you having trouble navigating the new microphones?
No.
5 o'clock hour. I'm trying to figure out why this thing is like up near my nose, and I couldn't figure out how to fix it.
You got to go side.
Yeah, I figured that out at 5:35. So,
but it's not. You don't have it sideways now.
Well, that's fine now. It's whatever. Anyway, how was your vacation?
It was great.
All right,
all right. So we went to the Outer Banks in North Carolina.
Wow.
My wife, the kids. We met up with her whole entire family. We did Christmas down there. Kids had a great Christmas.
Okay.
Kennedy got her white suitcase, which was.
Oh yes. Did she get her white suitcase? Have I been on the air on WTN since Kennedy was in here?
I don't think so.
That was so. Like fun, with Kennedy.
She was great.
Did she like being on the air with me, or she was like, "Dad, what's wrong with that man?"
Not only did she like it, she's still off of school this week. They don't go back till next week. Lucky dog. But she said, "Can I come back in?" I said, "Well, let's save it. Let's keep it special."
You got to keep it special.
Yeah,
you got to keep it special. Plus, I don't think I can be owned by a 10-year-old again. 10, 11.
She's 10 now. She had her birthday on the 27th.
Okay. Oh, that's right. So
Yeah.
she had her birthday on the 27th. I had mine on the 26th. By the way, thanks for all the happy birthday texts from all my coworkers.
Oh, did you guys did you guys hear what Dan got me for Christmas?
What did he get you?
He followed me on Instagram and Twitter.
Hey!
Oh, wow.
This was the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's in his budget.
So and then my nephew also followed me on Instagram. So I am now like paranoid about what I'm posting on Instagram on two different levels.
There you go.
Like the guardrails are up on both sides. You know what I mean?
So I told Chris it's a Christmas miracle. I followed him on the socials. So there you go.
At Chris Hand on Air for both.
Yes, at Chris Hand on Air. Very
Dan,
good.
I did wish you a happy birthday on my Facebook.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
Well, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate
You're quite
that.
welcome.
I should probably look at my
Yes,
social
and
media.
I did as well, Dan.
Yes.
Oh, you?
Quite a few did, actually.
Thank you. That's all I'll say. Thank you.
Okay.
I didn't do it on Facebook.
No?
No, it wasn't Facebook
Did you
official
do it on
for me.
Did you do it on the gram or the X?
I texted you. I did that. I have that one-to-one personal connection, Dan.
Are you embarrassed to know me? Is that what it is?
No.
I get moving on. Hey, so what do you got for this segment?
Did you see? Well, all right. So for New Year's Eve, my kids. So what we do on New Year's Eve is we fake it, and we'll play a ball drop from years past on YouTube, or we'll play something from a different time zone. So we'll play the Sydney ball drop or the Paris ball drop and watch the fireworks. And I was so grateful because I went to bed at 10 p.m. and I woke up to the woke hysteria of what happened on all the New Year's Eve shows. And
what happened? I don't even know.
So Green Day.
Yeah, I've got that audio. You want to hear the audio
changed
again?
the lyrics to one of their songs to insult MAGA.
Yeah, you know what? We talked about this earlier, but it was a long time ago. So here's what I don't get. They changed the lyrics to their song American Idiot so that it would be an anti-Trump song. This is what it sounded like.
Well, maybe I'm the America. I'm running part of a MAGA agenda. Now everybody do the propaganda. I say along to the age of paranoia.
All right, so that is Green Day, and now my take is different than Chris's. So my thing that I did earlier was where they have the lyric cut out.
Well, maybe I'm the America.
He uses the F word that is a homophobic slur.
Bundle of sticks.
Sure. Bundle of sticks?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That was originally what the word meant. Before you couldn't use it anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever. Anyway,
so he dropped the bundle of sticks F-bomb.
He dropped the bundle of sticks F-bomb.
Yep.
And so people are, praising him for going, anti-MAGA on the song, as you just heard, and ignoring the fact that he used that bundle of sticks F-bomb. Now, if that was a Republican, of course, or a conservative or somebody that did the same thing, people would be all up in arms.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I didn't really even care about that part because that's been the context was different in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was funny is he goes, I'm not a part of the MAGA agenda. And then you look at the lyrics and he goes, now everybody do the propaganda. It's like, well, you just did. You just did. Also in the song, it's, the next verse, he goes on to talk about one nation controlled by the media.
Yeah.
It's like, that's you now, bro.
That is his side. That is his side of the equation.
Why is it that all these punk rock groups are now, they were so hard fighting against the system, and now they are the system? Like, it always blows my mind that we're the resistance with your blue hair and your Starbucks and your iPhone. It's like, no, you are part of the problem.
It's like seeing a deadhead sticker on a Cadillac.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Do you know what that's a reference
Yes, Grateful Dead. Yes, I understand.
Okay.
I understand the reference.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure because you know what? I asked him who Ian Ziering was earlier from Beverly Hills 90210, and he didn't know.
I had no idea.
So,
who's Ian's? I don't know who this is.
Ian Ziering was his whatever. He is. He was on the show Beverly Hills 90210.
So like that for me, I was born in '88. So when that show was popular, I was like just a little bit too young, and then by the time I was old enough, I was like, whatever.
To be honest, I was more of a Melrose Place fan.
Oh,
you guys ever watch Melrose Place? No.
I don't think this is a big Melrose crowd.
Well, whatever. Anyway, there's a great video out there. Ian Ziering, he's like my age.
Okay.
And it's actually a funny video. So you got these little mopeds in Los Angeles, and there's 4 of them. And somehow there was a little bit of a moped crash with his car. So Ian Ziering gets out of his car, and these little moped people start trying to beat him up.
Oh, no.
And so there's like 5'3", and I think it's a girl because she's wearing pink. Not that there's anything wrong with men wearing pink, but whatever.
It's 2024. We're not allowed to assume these things.
Boy, that's true. I don't know what it was. But anyway, so they're trying to beat up Ian Ziering, and he's like runs across the street. And he looks pretty badass taking out, these little moped people. And they're wearing helmets.
The moped people.
The little moped people.
Attack of the moped people.
The little Wallowitzes.
Anyway, so if you haven't seen it, it's a great video.
Okay.
Chris is completely ignoring me at this point.
No, I'm not. I'm going to watch.
You will enjoy the video.
Listen, I'm the type of guy that I will watch gratuitous violence on the internet just to watch it.
Oh, okay, well, I don't know how violent it is.
Well,
hey, by the way,
you said moped people are attacking
the
this man.
Moped people.
The moped people.
Those moped gangs.
Where they gas their electric mopeds.
I don't know, actually.
It's California, so they're electric.
There you go. There you go.
They're paying their carbon offsets.
So should we go? Do you know what the original inspiration for that Green Day song was?
No.
Lynyrd Skynyrd's song.
Okay.
So Lynyrd Skynyrd did a song, and I don't even know what year this is, but it's called "That's How I Like It." I want you to listen close. So what they're talking about there is they're talking about, hot women, whiskey, beer, God, and the flag.
Yes, sir.
And it's all about just,
being American.
That's not a Southern thing, but I mean, those are all things that are especially relevant and prevalent in the South. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love that. Well, he apparently heard that song on the radio and was so horrified at what Leonard Skinner wrote that he came up with American Idiot in response to the rednecks that were, singing that song, which was, of course, Leonard Skinner. So there you go.
The left is always so angry and bitter.
It's an emotional thing, isn't it?
That's how they celebrate New Year's Eve. And then meanwhile at Mar-a-Lago, Vanilla Ice is there doing the Yo Ninja rap with the Ninja Turtles on stage.
Okay, so I thought maybe I was drunk when I saw that because I saw that video and I'm just like, I don't understand. And then I just gave up and went to bed. So
I watched both of them. I was like, which way, Western man?
Yeah.
Which way do you want to go?
I mean, Vanilla Ice had Ninja
Turtles on stage.
Ninja Turtle people on stage.
All right.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Leonardo.
I'm reasonably certain they weren't actual turtles. They were people in costumes.
Maybe.
Oh no! Did I just destroy the magic of the Ninja Turtles?
It's the secret ooze. You never know.
That's right.
So anyway,
where's the big rat? That's what I want to know.
I actually like Vanilla Ice.
Listen, he had fun. This is the best thing about conservatives right now is like we're actually having fun. Like, do you think anybody was really thinking about how angry they are at Joe Biden at the Mar-a-Lago, New Year's Eve bash?
No, I don't think so.
No, they barely thought of him at all.
They were having a great time.
Did anybody watch Anderson Cooper getting drunk? Like, can I just ask it? Why? Why do they keep doing this? Does anybody care?
I don't know. Did you see the Ryan Seacrest one?
No.
Where they had Biden and Dr. Jill on? Biden had his mortician makeup rocking.
Oh, did he?
And Dr. Jill was sitting so weird. Like, her shoulders are up past her ears. Like, it was like the weirdest thing.
Like Larry King used to sit.
It was even worse. It was even worse.
Yeah.
And she's usually the
She had a
poised
weird
one.
dress on, too.
Yeah, I don't understand. She dresses like a 70s couch.
Who No, that's Hillary. Who dresses worse, Jill Biden or Hillary Clinton?
Oh,
I asked Johnny a question the other. What did I ask you, Johnny? Who looks better in that blue dress, Hillary or Bill Clinton?
Yeah, that was a toss-up.
I heard that on my way.
Yeah,
in.
And then smocks she wears makes her look like the Chinese spy balloon.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. So anyway, all right. What is coming up after the news at 9?
Well, we'll be patiently awaiting the Epstein client list or whatever they're going to be releasing. Yeah. Do you think anything is really going to come of this?
I think if they can prove wrongdoing, I hope they do, but I don't think they will. I mean, I was talking in the 8 o'clock hour earlier about this Sam Bankman-Fried, who is not going to be brought up in any kind of campaign finance charges. So as Tim Burchett said, we don't know who he bribed. So do I think that anything will come of it? Probably not, based on what we've seen before.
It's crazy. And it's all the stuff that we've all known forever. Like, we already know Bill Clinton's going to be named. It's like, oh, shocker.
Well, yeah, Bill Clinton's going to be named. And, I've heard some of my friends in talk radio making a big deal about the hand massage, the massage that he was getting.
Photo.
Well, that was back in, I think, 2020 or somewhere around there. And he that surfaced in 2020. And the masseuse in question actually said he was a perfect gentleman, which is a real big stretch for Bill Clinton.
That's the most shocking part of the report.
Well, if she were to say otherwise, she would probably join Vince Foster.
And Epstein himself.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Yes, just conveniently, some cameras will go down and guards will be asleep.
Yeah, she'll commit suicide by shooting herself twice in the back of the head and throwing herself down some stairs. That's so sad. Why did that have to happen like that?
Oh, man.
We'll also talk about the New Year's Eve shenanigans. Also, Shenna Bellows, the Maine Secretary of State. I'm going to go in on why I believe she's a why not.
A why not?
Yeah, a why not. Yeah.
What's a why not?
Just somebody that buys into modern day feminism and so angry at conservatives, but really they're just upset with themselves.
Okay. Very good. Very good. She's a nut. by the way. I don't know about a why not, but she's a nut. So
she's an absolute loser.
Okay. Well, very good. So Chris Hand coming up after the news at 9 on WTN. Start your real estate year off right by selling your home with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Dan Mandis here, and you don't have to worry about the hassle of constant cleaning and making costly repairs. With a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can receive an all-cash offer and move when you are ready. There's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. With over 10,000 five-star reviews, Mark Spain Real Estate is the most trusted and experienced real estate team in America. Their guaranteed offer does keep you in control, so call them today. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out at 855-299-SOLD. 855-299-SOLD. You can also find them online. It's markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.